world. Happy Friday to everyone out there. Let me get my screens and everything right. Coop, how you doing, brother?
Last time I was off was last Friday. But then again, I'm never off. We got 3 shows now.
Hey, man, And you know what? We're going to talk about this further in the show, man. I've been doing my, putting my list and everything together. You're in some trouble, man.
For what?
You are in some trouble. This
What, you talking about the
Neptune's Timberland thing, you're in trouble.
I haven't even begun to think about it, Mike, because I'm so not concerned.
Okay. All right. Don't be concerned. I'm telling you.
You understand, Mike. I may not even have to get into rap stuff to beat you.
You're gonna have to get into rap stuff. I'm gonna force you into some rap stuff. There's no way you're not gonna be able to get into some rap stuff. You're not gonna be able to sing your way and bop your way through this one.
I don't know. I can 1 in a million in Bachelor. And
do you have 21 in the millions? You don't.
But I got about 10. I got 10.
Do you? That's not true. It's not true. Let me move this box over here, man.
I thought you were the Missy fan, Mike.
I am a Missy fan. But you don't want to see this one, man.
I can think of 5 in her catalog, Mike.
I'm telling you, bro. I was going through my list yesterday. You're in trouble. You're in trouble. Big time trouble.
Hold on, Mike. I haven't bought up any of the Timberlake or Nelly Furtado stuff either.
It doesn't matter, man. I'm telling you.
It matters. It matters.
It doesn't. I'm telling you, bro. I'm telling you.
Okay.
I'm telling you. It looks good on paper. I was going through the speakers, man. It's gonna be trouble, man. I pinned the Patreon to the top of the page for the people who ain't a part of that. But yeah, we're gonna be doing that Neptune Timberland matchup on Monday, man. Listen, man. Like I said, trouble. You thought I brought it with Tribe, man. This.
No. This is different. This is a more fair. Even though you got 2 people to my 1, this is still a more fair fight. And Mike, I'm not the one that's in trouble.
Is it more of a fair fight? After listening to what I was listening to, this is not. I mean, listen.
No, Mike, you're biased. You're a fan.
It's Friday.
You're not in trouble.
It's Friday. You still got time to back out. If you want to bow out of this one, I understand. You got time to back out of this one.
I'm not bowing out of anything. I'm taking Timberland.
Nas the GOAT said, Mike, Timberland shit hits through the speakers. I know. But y'all don't know what plan I got here. 007 with the super chat says, Peace Kings, give us that Big Daddy Kane Rakim versus. That'll be dope. That'll be dope.
We're gonna, we're gonna get into a discourse about something where I'm gonna maybe submit something to you and to the audience about maybe what we can do to be helpful to bridge the gap of some of the tenuous things that are taking place between some of our elder statesmen and certain DJs, radio, media personalities.
Well, you know what? I think that Bagger Jones with the super chat, and we're going to get into this a little bit more. He said, did you guys go to the Nas Wu show last night? It was a lot of stuff going on, man. A lot of stuff going on. Had people that went there, heard it was great, as, always, but didn't make it out there. Did you make it out there, Coop? I know my man Chris did. Shout out to Chris. He sent me footage and everything.
The attempt was because I really wanted to take my daughter because I thought about it. It's like, man, this would be great if this was her first real rap show, but it just wasn't in the cards.
Thursday's just such a rough day. I had it planned for a weekend or something maybe.
Right, I was thinking a Saturday.
And because
it's Atlanta.
And with Atlanta traffic,
I thought we were going to get some weekend treatment, but maybe they don't get the love down here that warranted it. I know, Ray has a lot of ties down here and has been down here a lot throughout the years, but the rest of them maybe not so much. I mean, no, Nas had a house down here when he and Felice was married too.
Yeah.
So no, I mean they're pretty familiar down here. So I don't know what the Thursday thing was about, but I've also seen them all before too. So it was kind of like.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to this one though, but again, that Thursday it was tough. I mean, I don't know if people are in the Atlanta area, how many people in our chat are in the Atlanta area, but getting around here during the week and getting down there to Lakewood, It's very tough. You know, but anyway, but yeah, some of that discourse that you were talking about and bridging the gaps, we're gonna get to that. But I think a lot of this is something that I think there could be a positive out of this.
Okay.
I really do. I think that there could be a positive. We're moving forward. People put people onto game a little bit more, and a lot of things like that just haven't been done in previous generations. And as a person who's been through radio and a person who has tried to make it as an artist myself, I mean, it's just it happened for us 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like the fact that there's nobody that's just gonna pull you to the side that's been through it and help you through it. All of us have kind of pretty much had to figure our way out through it. And I'll get more detailed in that, but
no, okay, no. I just wanted to like kind of like get where you were coming from and going and where we were taking it. Okay.
I mean, let's just be real. Even if we talk about being here in the show that we do and the wonderful fan base that we have amassed, like we're approaching 10,000 subscribers. I think that's awesome. That makes a noise.
Oh, it does?
Yeah. Okay. But we're approaching 10,000 subscribers, which is awesome. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot more people who watch us that haven't hit the subscribe button, right? And even with that 10,000, I'm pretty sure that there are people who are notable individuals in this space or in hip hop culture who see what we're doing. I'm not asking anybody to come down and, interview with us or holler at us or whatever. But we are in a culture, and we got to be real about this, where people who could just really just tweet out something or even just come in and holler at us, they could give us a boost in the arm overnight. They don't do it. That's the thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody that has reached the level in hip-hop tries to help anybody who is on the come up unless they are contractually obligated to them. That's what the young people see. And that's what we've seen historically. It is what it is. Is that false?
Well, I don't think that you're saying anything false. I think everything has a circumstance and a situation to it, truly. Like you take our situation and our circumstances, it's like to everything that you spoke to about what could be given as a boost in the arm is true. But what you're also kind of like not saying, and this is me playing devil's advocate to everything that we've built together, Mike. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Well, we be holding a lot of people accountable for the dumb shit too. And they don't like that because they're not used to that, quite frankly. And so I'm not surprised when we don't get a shot in the arm. No, I'm not surprised when necessarily we don't get a shot in the arm per se because of, we're. I don't hear a lot of people talking the way that we talk. And being challenging and thoughtful the way that we are. And so we might be different. And so it might be a little bit more frightening or stand the offish to some in that realm. But the overall motif is the same, though, in terms of how the behavior is gone generationally in hip hop in terms of the lack of in Upward Bound, Mike, the theme is lifting as we climb. As in, I go further up the ladder, I take somebody who's further down the ladder and pull them up the ladder with me. There's no lifting as we climb in hip hop. There's no upward bound.
This is not even just in hip hop. I think it's in entertainment in general. It's some Hollywood type of shit. Because I saw this clip that's making its rounds on the internet where Oprah, and forgive me, I forget the woman's name, played Moesha's mom. You know what I'm talking about? Just won the Academy Award.
Sheryl Lee Ralph.
Yeah, Sheryl Lee Ralph. There's a clip of Oprah running into her somewhere, and Oprah's acting like she just got on or something, screaming and hollering. Like, come on, man. Like, and Sheryl Lee Ralph's looking at her like, really? You know what I'm saying? But that's what the game is. Once you get validated, and let's just say tomorrow, if we sign to whatever, and this podcast is distributed by whatever, everybody's coming on the show. You know what I'm saying? And I think the other part that is problematic as well, and you even dealt with this personally. we give all these people praise, which is fine because we're talking about the music and we have no obligation to anybody outside of the people. This is about the people, not the individuals. We're not out here trying to kiss ass to get anybody on. But you say one thing that's adverse, and then you got Lupe Fiasco wanting to debate you, right? You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality, and that's the same thing here with this Ack and L thing. Where, and I'm not even coming down to L. I think what L said was correct, but a lot of the things that was said in that whole conversation didn't hit a nerve until he called Pioneers dusty, right? And if that's what's going to get your antennas up to have a conversation, is that okay? You know what I'm saying? Because we could sit here and praise, praise, praise. No one's going to say anything. But if you go out there and you've seen it yourself and disagree with something strongly, everybody's out. And even in that situation, did he want to come on here and debate you? No. Which is fine. But but again, it speaks to that whole notion where nobody is trying to be a part of anybody else's come up. And honestly, it's just been a mantra from hip hop from the beginning. Unless you're in that person's crew, you're not gonna help them come up.
Because the nature of it is, it goes back to one of my themes, Mike, when I say black love is tenuous. Well, this is one of those tenuous love moments. So let's unpack it a little bit. One of the people that was there when I heard the whole black love is tenuous thing was Dr. Vaught. Dr. Vaught said something, and Mike, you understand this because you're engaged and or on your way to being married. Do you want to be right or do you want to be married? You feel what I'm saying? And it seems like when people reach a certain sort of acclaim or fame, they want to be right more than they want to be like married to the game. You know what I'm saying? And so when he came for me, it's not like I had a problem with him coming for me. It's like, well, no. Like let's make it fair and let's make it balanced and let's argue about some of the points that I'd like to argue about too. But it's like, oh no, that's not the point. You want to be right. Well, it's like, at that point, if you're a grown man and that's your thought process about it, that is fame and stardom getting to you. And at that point, you can have it.
Mad Max with the super chat says, I'm with LL. Academics funny, but he was talking out of pocket. He ain't have to say they dusty, and I'm with L. Listen, I agree with that. Let me get through these super chats, and I'll say what I got to say about it too. Mad Max says, also, I be telling my friends when they say, why you bump LL? I tell them, I just want to respect the past so the future kids don't disrespect my era. It's going to come back like full circle, and that's true. And I think, and you know what? I'm glad that a younger person made that point because this is happening to the generation that didn't do that to the people that came before them. A lot of the research that me personally, that I'm coming across now, even Disco King Mario, these are things that we should have learned about from the people who were active in the 80s and 90s when we were growing up. But we didn't. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm embarrassed, Mike, that we're not more well-versed on it. I consider myself to be ahead.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's the people that are complaining now, unfortunately. And again, what's done is done. But I think that there can be a conversation moving forward where this type of stuff doesn't happen again. Because like I was telling you offline, this ain't about putting people... All right, why would a younger generation feel like certain pioneers are dusty? Because they didn't really, Academic didn't really, mention any names. But let's just say Trixie, right? The first breakdancer. Mm-hmm. Why do we not recognize Trixie as that? And if we did recognize him as that, this man could have started a school. This man could have been out here giving all kind of lessons just off of the props, even if it was just a shout out on a record, on a hip hop classic. Ain't nobody asking anybody to come out of pocket, do whatever. And that's why I brought the analogy of somebody just, and shout out to Jay Skis over there at Drumwork. He reposted when we were talking about him. Shit like that. No one's asking anybody to go out there and put all kind of dough down or whatever, but when Biggie said what he said about, Mr. Magic and Love Buzz Starsky on Juicy, he immortalized their name. You know what I mean? Little shit like that. Those type of things could have put people who were before the industry era of hip hop, it could have put them in position to make a life for themselves for something that they built for you. You know what I mean? And I give LL props for the whole Rock the Bells thing. I love what they're doing over there. I think it's a great thing. And I wish there were more people that are from certain eras and that were very successful in hip hop to do some things like that. You know, it's gonna take more than just L, J, Nas, and people like that to do those things.
We're saying a lot, so I mean, forgive me. Like I need to catch up to like some of the thoughts.
No, it's all good. I'm glad the conversation's being had. You know, and if it took a young person to be somewhat disrespectful to have it, so be it. Whatever's gonna get people's attention, right?
Correct. So, what would you say, Mike? Let me submit something to you. Is this not like this isn't necessarily this way of thought and teaching? Well, it just doesn't exist only in hip hop when it comes to our people now, does it? Because when you're saying all this, I think of how many other pieces of life where this dichotomy exists, this mentality of
the game is to be sold, not told mentality.
I mean, I'll tell you what, like when you said that, Mike, I thought of my father. My father's from Youngstown, Ohio. Like he comes from an era where that's like some true like code type, you know what I'm saying?
Other
like,
communities don't do that. They give game to their youngins. They do. Put them in position.
No, I mean, see, he means it more in the hustler's ambition, right. As far as like when you're out here with the wolves, not as if you like conceal everything in terms of the knowledge. But I mean, what I would submit to you is how much are the economics playing into this? How much is the unknown of what hip hop was playing into this as well? I just want to play devil's advocate to a couple of those things. You know what I mean? Because a lot of it, like LL said, was like, well, you're dealing with guys. It's like, well, how do you want somebody to plan for something 5-10 years down the line? You don't even know, like Mike, they wouldn't even know if they was going to be, like if they was doing a summer jam, you know, shit, or like a park jam shit, like one summer, they didn't even know if they was going to be doing it the next summer. You're asking them to have a 5 or 10 year plan. So it's like, that's what I mean. Every situation has its circumstances to it, and we got to start like unpacking like situationally what happens with these generations and find where the disconnect is, or find who the disconnect is, because there's usually like an agent zero. You know what agent zero means, like in scientific terms, right?
I know Gilbert Arenas. What does it mean in scientific terms?
I mean like agent zero, like in clinical terms.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when AIDS was considered to be an epidemic, Mike. There was a French pilot named Gatine Dugas, and he was considered to be like patient zero.
Gotcha.
As in he was a flight attendant, and he was a very well-known and promiscuous homosexual who internationally had pretty much went to every continent except Antarctica via the airlines in like a 7-year period, and it is thought that he is the one that most possibly bought the transmission of it here to the United States. So everywhere has an origin, but you have to like do your research, and part of the crab in a barrel, or like it's like not telling like a ghetto song, you know what I mean? Like when you don't tell the story and the story gets broken, well, this is where it becomes problematic.
Well, I mean, I did watch, or listen to rather, Akademiks did like an open letter response to LL on his Spotify. And I listened to that because I wanted to be fair and balanced and listen to all sides of it. And he did say that part of what LL said, because he was breaking down all the 6 minutes and responding to it, he did say that part of what LL said was true. And he said that, that was a very good point. But his thing is more so, he feels like, once they did get to that point, other artists in hip hop shouldn't be going through these messed up situations with record labels. And he said in his experience in trying to get into the game just as a hip hop fan, or, in trying to educate himself on just the executive side of things before he, started his platform, he was saying that trying to find information was damn near impossible. Nobody's giving you any information. We got to think about that. Why do artists continue to walk into bad deals? Why do we have decades and decades of artists who have been effed over by the music industry in the same fashion? Why?
Okay, so,
no one's sharing
okay,
any information.
let's pause. Information, economics, and education. You see, that's where the problem is lying, where we're not fixing the problem. You see, because there's not the sharing of the information, there is still a lack of education.
Lack of education. All right, that can be very broad. When you say lack of education in this sense, what do you mean?
Because here's what I mean. When you put somebody under economic strife, if they don't have all the information and really understand their value, they're always going to be in a position of settling until they understand the information and become educated on what their value truly is. Period.
Our man with the super chat says, "Peace, Coop. Did you watch the Quantum Leap reboot? And if you did, what did you think about it?"
I have not watched it yet, but I did download the Peacock app last night and plan on watching it sometime this weekend. I think when I looked at it, they had 2 episodes up already.
36 Chambers with the super chat says, "Rock fans treat their veterans like icons. Hip hop treats their veterans like beans or corny. Say beans or corny, and it's a problem for longevity of the culture. It's been like that since day one, though. I mean, I think that it's easy for people to just dump down on the young people, but it started even when Run DMC was like, this is never ever old school, and also with the whole money point that LL made, as far as like other genres and other,
He's right.
Yes, but we gotta separate 2 things, right? It's hip hop culture, and then there's rap music. Rap music is the industry, right? The industry of selling records and what rap became and that became valuable. That's rap music, and I don't think when rap music started to popularize and people were making the money that they were feeding hip hop culture that wasn't quote unquote making the money at the time. You know what I mean? Like rap songs were making the money when it became a rap genre, but the breakdancing wasn't making the money. The graffiti wasn't making. You know what I'm saying? These are 2 different things. So, with that being said, rap music was all about showing what you got. So it's a little bit different than country. You know what I'm saying?
So what you're saying is that the rap music gets leaned on differently than the other portions of hip hop culture because it's the first one that colonizers and capitalists found that they could make real big money off of.
Exactly, and from a content standpoint, we got to be honest. From a content standpoint, rap music talks about money more than any other genre does. So I don't think that's fair to compare rap to John Coltrane. Like when we're talking about nobody asked how much money John Coltrane had. Well, when you go look through all of the diss records in hip hop, do we not talk about money? How much money this person has and how much money the other person doesn't have that you're battling against? It's different.
No.
Come on.
You want to know what's crazy about it? Is that, well, I mean, let's go all the way to the top. Well, that didn't happen with Nas and Jay-Z. That didn't happen with Common and Ice Cube.
It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens. Like, we can't sit here and act like money is not a piece of content in hip-hop. They have whole labels called Cash Money Records. Come on, man.
Mike, but the economic, that's what I'm saying. The economic strife behind that's deeper than hip hop.
I understand what you're saying.
That problem is deeply, that's what I was saying a few minutes ago. That problem right there, when you get to discussing the economical side of it, well, when you're talking about Black people and their economical situation here in America, particularly people who come out of the hip hop community typically, who typically come from an impoverished community more often than not, that's different, and there are so many factors that go into it in the economics of it that don't have necessarily anything to do with the rap industry. There's other type of systemic and institutional racism that's going on, that's affecting those economics, that's giving those perspectives and making somebody want it so bad.
You get I understand that, and that's why the term dusty hurts so bad, right? It's not the same.
So can we say this right quick? Let me submit something to you again. It's not what you do oftentimes, and I have to learn this myself, and I'm one of the main perpetrators sometimes of this. It's the word that you use. Like, I get the point that you're trying to make, but when you use certain words and certain verbiage, there's a certain attachment that comes to certain words, and holding the forefathers of this genre in a light that is so dismal, quite frankly, that it can barely be seen.
It's out of line.
It is out of line, and it's like, so, learn how to articulate your point with your audience in mind a little better.
Well, this is
and I say that as somebody that's guilty of it at times.
I agree. And the thing is, though, the reality is the reality, no matter how you want to dress it up. It's unfortunate that someone who has made their, career off of hip hop culture can even say that. You know what I'm saying? Or that's even a thought in their mind. That's a problem. I'm more of a person that is thinking like, okay, why is this happening? Right? We get it. It's real. You know what I'm saying? Like, we sit there and see a lot of the people who did create this thing. They shouldn't be living like this. And my thing is, why? And it's not even, and I disagree with some of the, I agree with the overall sentiment of LL, and like I said, he's doing great work with Rock the Bells, and I'm glad he actually said something too to bring this conversation, forward. But I do disagree with it being about an individual's business acumen as well. That's not what this is. I think, once again, if certain people got the individual credit that they deserved, they would be able to live off of that credit alone. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if certain people, if there wasn't this mentality where certain individuals want all the credit for everything and they just didn't splice the credit around as it should be, everybody could eat.
Well, it's like you said when we were talking behind the scenes, and you're like, well, Honey has a dance academy up here because she's the real Honey.
Exactly.
Like, not the chick from the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. You there, Coop? You went out for a second. Let me get to some of these super chats. Mad Max with the super chat says, I think Trixie and guys like... Oh, you're back. Let me get to some of these super chats real quick. Mad Max says, I think Trixie and guys like that not mentioned because people today care more about artists and specific groups of people who own the money writing out history. LOL, pun intended. But see, again, I think that the artists are the ones with the microphones literally in front of their faces. I wish we could have seen artists shine a little bit more light on those people who paved the way for rappers to be able to get in the studio and make those hit records. Reggie with the super chat says, Mike, Coop, you guys need to give a review of clips of Young Guru on Mad Papa. We saw some of the clips. We were actually going to talk about that last week when with the whole 50 Cent thing. And I think that we just had such an action-packed show we didn't get to.
You love me.
Right.
You ain't the same when Jay-Z ain't around. You love me.
Mad Max says, the rock and roll excuse lose me. Rock held their legend so high that the genre is dead now. Similar to baseball and boxing, where you praise the old so much that the new get no love. That's an interesting concept.
I love that. I love that thought, that sentiment.
Mad Max also says like rock would still be a thing if they recognize people like Young Thug or Lil Uzi as rock and roll artists. They only call them rappers because they're black, and that's and that in the way they're saying the N word, like Ye said. That's a good point as well. Born King said there were a lot of songs left out of the show last night. Let My N Words Live, Fried Chicken, the Monument were all left out. In my opinion, the show was a little underwhelming. However, Busta and Spliff were fire. Okay. Double O 007 says, gentlemen, I'm going to go very deep here. Rap music exemplifies what's wrong with black culture. We don't act like we crossed the Atlantic Ocean together, and it's the field workers versus the house ninjas. Very interesting. Christopher Hogan says, we the only genre that compares songs and rappers instead of letting someone have their own individual greatness. Well, we're the only genre also where people are calling themselves the greatest and the kings of the genre. We're also the only genre where people make songs against each other as well to be on top. So, I mean, can't have it both ways. It's a little bit competitive. It started off in the park where people were just battling each other anyway. These are the origins of it. And to 007's point, I do think that it is a little bit of that in hip hop where it's like, okay, I'm here, you're here, and I got to stay up here. I can't look out for here. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. You're not gonna see a signed artist that's at a certain level actually put on an independent artist without there being any contracts involved. We see it. I mean, like, I remember seeing Soulja Boy. We all know Soulja Boy. He was independent, nobody's fucking with him, right? He goes out there and signs to, I think it was Virgin he signed to most recently. All of a sudden, you see him and Puffy at a party together now. That's the stuff I'm talking about.
Crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we see it. It's real. Like, these artists that are on, or quote unquote on, or major label artists, they don't go out here and show love to the independent artists that are out there doing their thing, at least not publicly. And in this era, all you have to do is post somebody and tag somebody. That's it.
There will be no acknowledgement until somebody who is worth acknowledging picks you up.
Exactly. Until you're contractually obligated to somebody.
See, now here's the thing about it. And here's where hip hop has a problem fundamentally, I feel like, from the MC or just the musical side of it. I think the real problem is what happened with the 80s MCs that came to prominence is that they were still competitive with those guys that they looked up to because the money wasn't world life-changing, but for a select few. You feel what I'm saying? Like, everybody ain't living like LL. Like, how many cats is living like LL that came out in 85, Mike?
I mean, he's
how many
one
dudes
of
is
one.
Even living like? How many dudes is even living like Kane and Rakim and KRS are right now? You feel me?
No, that's real. And see, LL's such an anomaly. Like, I think it's so great that he is doing Rock the Bells because he is the one to do it. He's LL Cool J. You know what I'm saying?
Like, Cool J.
He's the ambassador.
Right, it makes sense.
Yeah, he's the ambassador.
Makes sense more than anything else.
Not only is he like, and you know, you and I debate this, and you say Snoop, and I say L. Not only is he hip hop's first superstar, solo superstar, but he's the most successful in his era even now. And I mean, just overall. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And I'm glad that he's the one doing this. And I'm glad he's the one to speak up on this.
It was always designed that way, though, Mike. It was always kind of built out that way. Even if he wasn't considered to be the best then, he was the most successful one then.
Yeah. And they all were touring together back then, you know, Fresh Fest and all that stuff. But
L was the man, though. Like,
for me, and I think you're saying the 80s, but for me, the disconnect kind of came in the 90s when everybody was like doing their own thing. And you didn't really see a lot of the guys that were taking hip hop to astronomical levels on a commercial level and just selling records. actually reach back and work with artists from the 80s like that. It would happen every now and then, but it didn't happen as much as it should have. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing about it, and this is where we do disagree with that. When I listen to Fast Life with Cool G Rap and Nas, it's like, well, that's literally, you understand? That's Nas's like first feature off of Illmatic that he did.
Yeah.
Like when he's got the hottest buzz, he gave Cool G Rap some heat first. When Rakim was coming back around, when Mobb Deep was at their peak and running the streets of New York, Mike, they did Hoodlum with Rakim. The Saga Begins, which I feel like is his last, like Rakim's last truly like greatest hit song. That starts off with the sample from like Prodigy from The Saga Begins. That's from Hell on Earth. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
this is the thing. And I hear what you're saying.
He like, oh, Rakim want to use my shit? It's like, yeah, of course Rakim want to. Yeah, can Rakim use your shit, Pete? Pete Rock want to. Of course he can. He probably ain't even. Yeah, of course.
That happened.
He laugh up, hit P up.
That
Steve
happened.
Risky was cool with it.
But Jay was on Show and Prove, right? And so was Old Dirty. And Biggie was on a Kane record. When Big, Jay, and even, Nas and Deep Mob, and I know Mob worked, Prodigy and Cool G Rap, they got a lot of work together, right? But it's like those guys didn't get on, we didn't get Kane on a Biggie album.
But listen, what I'm trying to say.
We didn't get Kane on a Jay album. We never did.
But Mike, what I'm trying to tell you is that had more to do with the mentality of the 80s guys than it did
and that's
the 90s guys. That's why I'm trying to tell you. It didn't happen because of the 80s guys, not the 90s guys. It's like they kind of shunned the era before them a little bit, and they kind of stiffed on, like outside of Cool G Rap. Yeah, because they've talked about it. Like they've all just now, over the years of touring together, the last like 5 to 10 years, have gotten close now because it wasn't cool to be close then. That's how they were brought up. They've all talked about that. It's like, no, there ain't no records of us together, because like it wasn't cool to do records together. Like Kane and G Rap even having they got like 3 tracks together, like prior to like in their prime, like Juice Crew era time. It's only like 3 records together because like it was a thing. It's like, oh, y'all really gonna record together? It's like, he's really a Brooklyn nigga. What he doing with the Juice Crew? Like that, there was always that. KRS-One never fucked with anybody outside of the Bronx, Mike.
Nikki
like
P
on
with
some
the
music shit.
Nikki P with the super chat says, rap is such a cutthroat game. One mishap and you can instantly lose a stream you had. I'm sorry, any steam you had, excuse me. You're instantly clowned after one bad song or one bad album. It's a tenuous thing. But again, with that out there, that's all the more reason to unify, right? And I used to love when they would do self-destructions and, what's the heal yourself and all in the same gang. But it seems like those records were only coming together on some after school special type of stuff. You know what I mean?
Wasn't genuine.
I didn't want to say it like that, but yeah, I feel you. I think that all that being said, though, I think that why a lot of people ended up in this situation where the current generation would have a prominent personality in their midst that feels that some of the pioneers are dusty. That happened because those people didn't get the proper props they deserved while they were able to get them. You know what I mean? Because once a generation passes, because who's gonna know Trixie and King Mario after 80, 85 if people aren't saying their names? You know what I mean?
Well, you see, there's a way to spark this conversation without using the word dusty, too.
Is there?
This is what I'm saying.
Yes. There? Because you saw yourself, you couldn't get a debate with Lupe until you said something that he deemed disrespectful. You can say all the regular discourse you want, but no one's going to respond, unfortunately. They're only going to respond to the negative.
No. I'm not talking about the response to the negative.
Yeah.
I'm saying there's a different way to frame the negative. It's like, you see, he took issue with me bringing up Shakespeare as being his final boss, like on some writing shit. And I'm thinking of that as a black man from the west side of Chicago. And literally, Toni Morrison is from a small town in Ohio, which is one state over. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with her writing. And it's more modern, it's more relevant, and relative. You get what I'm saying? There's so many things.
Coop, if you would have said it like that, you wouldn't even have no discussion with them, right? It wouldn't even happen. You were a lot more animated when you said those things, and the animation is what got the response, unfortunately.
He thought I was racist, though. I'm racist.
But again,
so
it was your energy. It was your energy that got that. And again, I think
I get what you're
you know
saying.
What I'm saying? If he never would have even used the word dusty, LL would have never even responded to the full conversation that needed to be had in the first place.
Well, let me ask you something, Mike. Okay, so let me ask you something. If he would have used downtrodden instead of dusty, are we having this conversation?
Nope, at all. Nope. Unfortunately.
Do you think him using the word dusty was intentional?
He said it was.
Okay, so let's back up. Well, that's the difference between he and I, because other people spoke to me on Twitter, like Nas the GOAT and Dumb It Down came to me like on Twitter on the inbox and was like, well, it wasn't really what you said, Coop. It was that your energy wasn't right.
Exactly.
Right. Hold on. But listen to what I told them. That wasn't my intention, so I apologize.
Yeah.
See, if he's intending to say it disrespectfully in that tone, in that way, then that's totally different. And that is wrong, because there's a better way to frame that, to have this discourse happen in a healthier format where it's not as tenuous.
Well,
it always has to be tenuous with us. It can't never happen organically. It has to happen tenuously.
He said he's willing to have not willing, he's welcoming a conversation with LL Cool J about the topic. And I hope he takes it, actually. I think it's a conversation. Huh?
You don't want to do that, I don't think. I think
it's a conversation that needs to happen. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, but it's like you trying to talk to LL about hip hop and like what it means, like to somebody that's from like farmers that like first album came out in 1985. It's like you really can't tell LL anything.
Well, he's not trying to tell him anything. I think he's trying to have
give him your thoughts, but you really need to be listening.
I think he's trying to have a conversation about, just artists doing better and communicating information to the people who are younger than them. And I think that is a conversation that needs to be had. I don't think that people should be too proud in that sense. Because I'm going to tell you this, man, like the people that were older than us, I don't know about you, they ain't tell us shit. Really. When it comes to getting in this game, everything that we're doing right here, trial and error. And you know what I mean? If it was people who were at a certain point, who were willing to give up information, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't have went through, that I had to go through because nobody told us anything. And that's just real. I find out things all the time, just, in journalism or whatever. I'm like, damn, if I would have known this, I would have done this. There are people who knew that shit. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's the problem. And I can understand Akademiks' frustration with that, because that's real. And a lot of those people are in those situations, unfortunately, because of lack of dissemination of information. Because let's just be real. Certain people got on and they just went about their way.
No, you and I have even talked about going to the open mics down here in Atlanta, Georgia, and seeing, your competition hanging out with the judges, like smoking and drinking before the competition. And you're like, oh, well, all right, I'm done here tonight.
I'm going to tell a quick story. For people who watch the show, they know I interned the radio, way back in the day. But my whole plan was, I saw what Luda did. I was like, well, shoot, let me go here, get my stuff on, and get on, right? So I'm sitting here interning in radio and thinking that, niggas get their music played. Everybody's telling me to go talk to another person, that bullshit, right? And when I got to the final boss, if you will, he gives me some BS about, I don't really pick what gets played. And that's why I really appreciate the fact that...
They all say that.
You're right. I really appreciate the fact that Akademiks and Ebro are having a conversation right now on Twitter as we speak about similar things, right? Because Ebro is program director over Apple Music at this point, I believe. But anyway, So yeah, this person, the big boss,
He
tells
better
me.
not be the one that stole the Pusha T idea, Mike.
I don't know. Who knows? But anyway, anyway, it's like, yo, I don't really pick what's on the radio. I hear it from the streets and blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And I'm like, I'm even
What
more
streets?
as a young person, I'm even more confused. Like, are you serious? You telling me that you pick what's on the radio by you walking in McDonald's and hearing a record bumping from somebody's car? That's what he told me. You know what I'm saying?
But what streets?
Exactly. Any,
The
you
streets
know, yeah, vague stuff, right? And shout out to DJ Jelly. He actually gave me what the prices were. And I'm like, oh.
Hold on.
Now, and
You
I'm
know,
like, I really literally wasted a year of my time when somebody could have just told me there's a price for this stuff.
Mike, you know this right now. There's music literally coming out of a different zone in this city alone that sounds different than the city in the next zone if you go to the biggest local club where the artist is known and their crew is known at. Like, every time I go somewhere with somebody and I end up somewhere and it's somebody, I'm like, who is this? I'm like, what is this? They're like, oh, Coop, you ain't up on this? I thought you was according to hip hop, nigga. And like, every time. This is in the city that we live in, Mike. You feel what I'm saying? So I don't want to hear like you got your ear to the streets and playing it for the no, right. You don't.
So you're telling me the program director of Atlanta's #1 hip hop station at the time is walking up to some kids in a car asking them what song they're playing through their speakers? Get out of here, man. Marquez Davis with the super chat says, Mike, that's a good point. I do remember Puff saying Big did not record that much because he did not want to overdo it. He said Big wanted every verse to be memorable. And I think he accomplished that too. Some more super chats. 007 says, academic wild though. This next generation has a lack of respect from what I've observed. This is a prime example of why LL should go boost his platform. It's got to be off love and respect on the strength, not clickbait. And I got that from Akademiks, I guess, response. It didn't sound like a clickbaitish thing. It sounded like he really wanted to have a conversation. And again, this open dialogue is something that I feel like, and I'm not talking about L, but I think that when people reach a certain level in hip hop or just entertainment in general, they're not going to have those conversations with people who aren't on that quote unquote level. And I think that that barrier needs to be crossed. And you said something earlier about bridging that gap. Until people bridge that gap, none of that's going to happen. You know why young people fuck with Kanye? He shows love. They can say whatever they want about Ye, but the young people respect Ye. You don't ever hear young people saying the stuff about Ye that the older generation says. They respect him.
I mean, I think you can say that about a few different guys that are even older than Ye that have been good about maintaining relationships and their statuses. See, part of what comes with that.
But I'm talking about somebody who is as polarizing as Ye. Nobody's polarizing as him.
No. Listen to what I'm saying, though. That's different when you bring up Ye, because Ye can reach out to them and be like, hey, I want you to rhyme over this beat that I did that I'm putting on my album. It's like, hold on, I get to rhyme to a Kanye track on Kanye's album. Well, Mike, when they were 9 years old, that like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was coming out. You feel what I'm saying?
I feel you, but I think that the respect, I don't know, Snoop's another one like that, right? Like, Snoop really shows love to the younger generation. He always has. I love when Snoop was doing GGN. That was one of my inspirations to kind of do what we're doing here. He would bring on young cats that were on the come up that didn't have deals. I remember seeing Nipsey on there early. Like, Snoop shows love, and young people respect him for it.
So let's have a real actual conversation, and this is what I mean. The 90s guys are different. If you go look at most of your icons, well, they all have done a great job about helping out and doing records with and for the newer generation.
LL's one of those.
Hold on, LL, Busta Rhymes, Nas, Jay. That's what I'm saying. Snoop, Wayne, because Wayne belongs in that category now. No, all those guys have done a great job about ingratiating themselves in different ways. Like they pop up. You know who's going into that category as well, whether people like it or not? Future's
Drake.
getting to that point.
Drake
No,
too.
Future. Yeah, Drake's getting to that point too. It's like, oh, you're still popping up on other people's stuff. Well, that's different. That's what I'm saying. Is like, Mike. I mean, as much as we love like Rakim and like love KRS-One, we ain't hear them popping up on nobody's albums. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way that Nas will pop up and do something for Wayne. No, the way that Nas and Jay will pop up and do something for Wayne on the Carter 3 and 4 respectively. Like Mr. Carter for Jay, and then that Carter interlude. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, like Rakim and KRS-One don't do that for guys like Wayne. Nas and Jay did that for Wayne. You feel what I'm saying? So they don't mind it as much. But part of why they don't mind it as much, I'll never forget, Nas was talking about in the article he did one time about him and Big was talking about they didn't want to end up fucked up in the pocket like the predecessors. Because like I told you, the way Kane and Rakim and KRS are living is not the way most of these dudes is living. The way LL is living is a far, far cry. You feel me?
I think those are kind of different things. I think that the fact that
you had to be the best to live a certain way, Mike.
They set the foundation though, and the thing is, like, you know, Charles Barkley's not gonna get paid what Klay Thompson's getting paid. Like there's guys out here that couldn't hold a candle to Charles Barkley as a player. And that's just, the evolution of economics, the game, and, just the industry in general. So that's just, it is what it is. I don't take any kind of issue with that.
Right now. If Charles Barkley were playing right now, he would be the best power forward in this league right now by far.
Yeah, and he didn't get paid got paid like, somebody coming off the bench would today.
But that was big money then.
Yeah. And that just is what it is. And like
that's
said,
how inflation works. Exactly. That's what I mean. That's the economics of it coming into play. And that's why, you kind of got to be wise.
But even with that being said, not to interrupt you, but what Rakim, Kane, and KRS were making back then was incredible for rappers at that time. You know what I mean? So
correct.
I don't really take issue with any of that. I just think that certain people's names who did a lot of things to build this foundation, I think their names should live on. And I think that their names should have rang so much that they should have been able to make careers off of the props and the foundation that they created. I would have even liked if LL in that spiel gave props to some of those individuals. I know when Russell Simmons made his comment, he tagged some people. And again, Sha LaRock was one of the people that he tagged, the first female MC from Funky 4+1. Again, growing up, her name wasn't spoken of as it should have been, as much as it should have been. You know what I mean? See, now they're starting to pick up the pieces and give people props that should have been given 20, 30 years ago, really.
Look, we have the same characters, though. So it's like, remember, I'm bringing up Nas. The first feature he's doing after Illmatic is Cool G Rap, Fast Life. Well, this is Nas on KD1. I was just thinking, isn't Brucey B on KD1? He is, the definition. Mm-hmm. You see, it's the people who care that keep it alive. And so what you're speaking to is something that's nuanced. There's just not enough people that care.
That's just the fact. And the people, and like you said, the people that care are the ones that are responding to this stuff.
Correct.
And that's the problem.
And they're not responding with like what they're saying. They're responding in the fact that it's like, well, hold on. When I say Bridging the Gap, well, guess who has a song that's called what?
Bridging the Gap, yeah. They care.
Ooh. Right. Yeah. And so you can see who's actually concerned with Bridging the Gap. That's why I was telling you, Fat Joe's a culture piece. It's like, no, you hear Fat Joe doing an interlude on KRS-One's album. That's important. That's helping bridge the gap. That's why I was telling you Fat Joe's important in different ways. Because it's like, well, he's one of the few guys that KRS was even fucking with. You know what I'm saying? And
I think we kind of stand on two different, points on that. Again, I think that
I understand
Fat Joe is important, but Peter Parks with the super chat says every generation has a responsibility to pay it forward. Great show, guys. I agree with that. And let's just be 100%. You have to pay it forward in the moment. And there's a generation, there's an era that dropped the ball with that. And that's okay. There's a lot of things that happen where we drop the ball. Acknowledge that. And like you said, unfortunately, the only people that are really speaking are the people that care that much. I mean, it is what it is. Like I love Bone Thugs and Harmony, right? I love Bone, and I remember when the whole thing with the Migos and all that, the back and forth, and they were talking about. I guess they felt like Migos were disrespecting them, and I'm paraphrasing this, so nobody kill me, right? I think the overall thing was Migos saying that they were the best group in the world, right, or best group ever, as they should feel. I mean, they were on their run. What are they supposed to say, right?
Every artist is supposed to feel that way.
Exactly. And so the offense was like, well, what about us? And I'm like, I love Bone. I actually memorized their lyrics back and forth. I don't remember them, really giving any props to anybody before them outside of NWA. And that's because Easy put them on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just is what it is. When you're young, you're on your roll, you're on your flow, you focused. You're not thinking about everything. And so you can drop the ball. And I think what happens is when artists get older, they start to feel that. And they're like, yo, where my props at? Everybody should have been paying it forward when they could have.
Right. When you was on and you was on top, were you doing the same thing?
Yeah, and we could see by the collaborations in people's primes what was going on.
Well, no, Mike, I truly do believe what goes around comes around. That's why I brought up. It's like, well, look at your icons. Look at all the icons that are walking around. Well, the biggest icons are actually the ones that have paid it forward the most.
You're right.
Yeah.
Eric Terrell with the super chat says DJ Akademiks stated the hip hop pioneers he sees are dusty. They created nothing disrespectful and intentional. He did say he questioned. Well, he didn't. He said it like this. What he was saying. Did you really create hip hop? I can't tell you, dusty type of thing. And I'm paraphrasing that too. But again, the fact that someone could even feel that way is a problem. Nobody who had anything to do with the foundation of this, and we're talking about a genre that's going to, or a culture that on paper is going to be 50 next year. These people are old enough and successful enough collectively when nobody who had anything to do with the origins of this should be even viewed in such a manner. You know what I'm saying? They should be held high. And I ain't even talking about by the Grammys or the Academy Awards, but just by the people that have been successful in this culture.
Do you remember, Mike, when this pandemic happened, do you remember what one of our first shows was about that I asked you that I thought we needed to talk about because of the pandemic?
What was that?
Does hip-hop need a union? Remember when I was asking you, I was like, we need a union. I said, we need a union to take care of our elder statesmen, just like the NFL.
Well, Swiss was talking about doing that, remember? I think that's right around that time where Swiss was talking about doing that. I don't know what happened to that talk.
Okay, I'm talking about somebody who cares about making it happen. That's why I was talking about it. He's saying it for notoriety and for publicity. I actually give a damn. It's the difference between the two. It's nothing personal. It's just a fact of the matter. But I was forging the conversation about conversations like this because, if somebody were to pick up a check or pick up their taxes from the relative states from the year and be like, hey, what's that tax right there? Be like, oh, yeah, that's part of the hip-hop union that you're part of. You had to pay $600 in the state of Indiana this year. You did 2 shows here. And part of your contribution to the hip-hop union in this state is this, and they can set it, because it's different. It can work differently. But hip-hop needs that because it's like we need to be taking care of our elder statesmen, and trust me. And I said it then when we did that earlier show. I don't know. You can go try to find it in the archives. I was like, oh, take some of the money out of that in the union and put it away. I was like, oh, they'll watch. They'll pay attention more. They'll care more about that more. And then they'll understand also, too, that could be you one day that needs that.
What are the elements of hip hop?
No, I don't think they really understand. Some of these people need this.
Of course they do. What are the elements of hip hop, Coop? MCing, b-boying, graffiti, and DJing, right? So anybody who had anything to do with the origins were participating in one of those 4 things. And I know people will say beatboxing, knowledge, whatever. That's, the core of those 4. You have art schools or art classes or anything that connects with graffiti, right? You have dance studios, like you said with Honey, with Rocksteady Crew, teaching kids the art. Those two things alone, for the people who started this, I'm sure they still have a love for those, two elements, right?
Of course.
What's stopping hip hop collectively, for the people who care, to create those types of epicenters with those people who were the creators at the head to flourish from? Not saying they got to be out there 60 years old breakdancing, but they can come out there and talk to the kids and have other, understudies under that on some sensei type of shit. What's stopping something like that from being what it is? And DJing as well, because a lot of people want to know how to do that.
I mean, to quote Pusha T, you talking about people coaching from the side of the ball court.
Exactly. Right. Like what?
No.
Why hasn't that happened?
Mike. Well, what I would submit to you is that well, if not them, why not us? If somebody doesn't do it before us, let's continue to do what we're doing and put ourselves in positions to be the one to do it. Because that's the way that I'm trained to think. It's like, I don't want to talk about these motherfuckers if they're not interested in it.
Well, that's why we're here in the first place. That's why According to Hip Hop was built in the first place. Because I realized that the politics of radio and all that shit wasn't shit, and I wanted to create my own. So, it's like, look, let's create this thing and get right to the people and have these type of conversations with the people and do right by this thing.
No, I told you, Mike, I came to you because I was looking for like a record company A&R position. It's like I had a college degree. I'm like versed in music. I have a portfolio, a writing portfolio and a music portfolio. I'm super personable, and it's like they're like A&R. I'm like, oh, get the fuck out of here. What do you mean? What you're asking me? What an A&R? Like, get me out. It's like, who the fuck is this answering the phone? Who is this sending me this email? Like, what's going on? What's happened to the business? What's happened to the culture? Does the culture even matter anymore?
Ohio K with the super chat says, long live the idols. May they never be your rivals. Definitely. And we need to hold people up, man. And it's Eric Terrell with the super chat says, most hip hop fans these days are stuck in the 90s and act like Jay-Z and Nas are the only people to pick up the mic. It's interesting. Why is that, I wonder?
Okay, so I want to submit a last thought to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we should actually get into some music because we've been on this for about an hour, which I think is more than appropriate. Yeah. But I also think, it is Friday and we have a fuck ton of music to get to be quite frank. When I was hearing just all of this back and forth and the discourse between everybody involved and the stuff that you were telling me and everything, and even our pregame conversation, Mike, I thought we need an honor roll call. Like, we have 3 different shows during one of our shows, preferably the YouTube show right now because it has the biggest following. Maybe we just need to take about 2 to 3 minutes and really take some time and talk about and honor a pioneer, a forefather, somebody important to the culture, and really highlight a contribution, because really that's what Rock the Bells Radio that LL doing is about. It's about really showing love to the people and immortalizing them the way they deserve to be immortalized. And really what you're speaking to is you're like, well, what LL is doing is proper, but the problem is there are not enough people doing it. And it's like, well, my thought to that is it's like, well, I always want to be part of the solution. And so we can be part of the solution by journalistically, just uncovering and talking about more people, like even the stuff that you were saying about Cornbread, Mike. He needs to be one of the first people that we would document, I would think, if we were to do this.
And for the people in the chat that are saying, talking about the Hip Hop Museum, I'm in constant communication with the people who are, doing the Hip Hop Museum and Hall of Fame, and we're definitely going to shine a light on that as soon as everything's complete. You want
to know what's crazy, Mike?
Mm-hmm.
You've been talking to them and dealing with them before, we've been doing the podcast. I remember when you were talking to them when I was still writing articles. And you were like, hey, I hooked up with this cool people. I think KRS One's plugged to them. They're doing a Hip Hop Hall of Fame museum. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I was like, yeah, let's stay in contact.
Yeah.
That was before we even like started going online or viral or anything.
Yeah, these things take time, but it's actually being built. It's actually two being built, which is great. And the more the merrier. And I just think that, again, it's unfortunate that I'm only 40 years old, and I say only because this thing runs, 50, 60 years deep.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of the information gets murky because, information wasn't properly passed down from generation to generation. And we're not even talking about a long time, man. We're talking about literally 50 years. Like, so a lot of people's names get left out and a lot of people's accomplishments get left out. And I still hear about new people every day. I mean, yeah, like you said, cornbread. I heard about cornbread maybe like a year or two ago, which is a shame. And it's not, it's not our fault. It just never was translated to us.
Right. So let me bring that back to you, and then we can move forward. And this is where we've really failed. You know where Toni Morrison's Beloved comes from, right?
Remind me and remind the audience.
When she was the publisher when she became the first black woman of a publishing house in New York, one of the books that she published was called The Little Black Book, was a bunch of slave stories that had been passed down.
Right.
Beloved is a true story of a slave, of a woman who would have rather have murdered her children than subject them back to slavery because she was fleeing. Now, think about Toni Morrison uncovering that story, I believe, via 1971, 72. And the fact that the story had already been alive and well written and translated for about at least 70 years, probably, Mike, I believe, if memory serves. And think about the fact that we didn't see the movie or the book till about 20, 25 years later after that fact. So we're talking about a story that's about 100 years old being translated. And what I would say to you is that part of why she's so important is because, she does shit like that, because look what's happening within our own culture in a much shorter time span about what we're fucking forgetting. That's a slave story being translated in the 70s, made for book in the early 90s, made for film in the mid and late 90s.
And I don't want anything to get lost in translation. I clearly don't agree with, DJ Akademiks' delivery in this. And I don't agree with our pioneers being disrespected. But I will say this. If it takes somebody from a younger generation to say something to piss you off, to do right, go at it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If that's what it's going to take for certain people to get certain people right, and I ain't talking about LL because, again, he's stepping up doing a whole lot. But if that's what it takes to make sure that our pioneers aren't out here looking like that for the youth, I'm with it.
No, I feel you. No, I feel you. Well, you want to know what? That's why youth are the insiders of change.
Yeah.
Because they
challenge, they don't give a fuck.
And they question things.
Yeah.
And just understand, no. You can challenge, you can question. Respect is still always supposed to be on the table first and foremost. You know what I mean? And that's earned, not given. So,
exactly.
So the younger need not approach the elder disrespectfully using words like dusty, though.
But you said a key word there. Elder. What's an elder supposed to do? Elder's supposed to give game. And when you ain't doing that, you're just old.
I think LL just gave a lot of game.
He did. He did. He's an elder.
He handled it the way an elder's supposed to handle it.
LL's clearly an elder. But not all of older people are elders.
Oh, right. Now, you're talking about just the overall behavior.
Yeah.
Well, quite frankly, Mike, hip-hop can be like Never Neverland, like with Peter Pan and the Lost Boys and shit, and we got like a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah. Mad Max to the Super Chat says, we have to pay it forward, but older generation have to pay it back too. I told old head Chef G, he said, I told old heads that Chef G is what Big would be today. They looked at me like I was spewing blasphemy to Christ's face himself. Let's see. Edit Project with the Super Chat says, please pay Nonchalant People Time music video featuring KRS-One. I shot it. That's what's up. We will. Appreciate the Super Chat. Appreciate you checking in with us too, man. That's good shit. And congratulations on the video completion. Eric Terrell with the Super Chat says, for example, Teddy Riley produced hits as a teenager for Dougie Fresh, Big Daddy Kane, Heavy D, and Kool Moe Dee. And he's looked at as a legendary hip hop producer, but an R&B guy. He produced the show. Definitely did produce the show. There's a whole lot of new music past 2 weeks. I want to talk about Ransom a little bit, man, before we get going.
Is that where you want to start?
I do want to start at Ransom because he came out first, and I'm sure that a lot of people have heard his project, over a matter of a week. So,
right.
What did you think about Ransom?
Let me get to my notes.
Man, I think Ransom is
we had so much. I wanted to make sure I was concise today and not riffing too much, just because I knew we had a bunch of music to cover.
Definitely. I think the Ransom is. I think he could be lyricist of the year. I like the way he approaches his music.
I do too.
I think he approaches his music for you to feel it, and we've had all these conversations about. Rapidy rap shit and, lyrical miracle type of stuff. And he is a very lyrical guy who you could tell is more about you feeling his story.
Correct. So, how many tracks on here did you like?
I think I liked everything on there.
Did you like The World Is Yours?
I did.
That was the only joint I didn't care for.
Okay.
And Last Gasp was on the 38 Special joint too.
Right. I like that joint. I fuck with 38.
Is that becoming a thing again? MC's doing that? I think that's becoming a thing again.
I'm not mad at it.
Here's two things that I thought of, and this is me nitpicking, which is how great he is or is becoming or the zone that he's in. These are my critiques. It's not better than No One Mourns the Wicked.
That's your critique?
No, I'm not finished. That's the first one. The second one, too, is that he's so great, and I feel like we should be feeling like his projects are greater because he's really not missing any marks. Is his rap voice great enough for him to be as great as his lyrics and his story and his feeling and his vibe and his articulation is? Because he appears to be hitting all the marks. And I thought when I was listening to this project for the second time, how would you grade his rap voice? How about this? How would you rate his rap voice in relationship to Jay-Z, who of all the great MCs we honestly say has possibly the least infectious rap voice of all the legends?
Well, yeah, he doesn't have as great of a rap voice as Jay. No.
So think about that. I think that might be something that's holding him back because I don't think he has a better rap voice than Jay either. And Jay, to me, of all the great MCs, probably has the least infectious rap voice. I don't want to say weakest because I can see how people could take that as saying dusty. Right.
We gotta watch our words, right?
No, I'm serious. I told you I can be a victim of it when I'm speaking with passion sometimes, but that's why I always hold myself accountable and I'm like willing to apologize like a man, like if I'm wrong and like another man feels disrespected by it, because that's not fair to the other man that didn't disrespect me.
Right. This is what I'll say. I never really thought about the voice thing because
I thought about it today.
And it's interesting you say that because I feel like his approach to music is very Beanie Siegel-ish, right? But he doesn't.
We're in the same wheelhouse because I got a thought for you. Keep going.
I was just going to say, though, the biggest difference between him and Siegel is the voice. And I would say versatility to a certain extent, too, because, Siegel could give us, in the club or rock the mic. Or, he could do those things. Siegel was the name that they gave me. Like, he could give you those records.
So,
and I think the versatility might be one of the things. And I don't like saying that because I think that's unfair in this time period because it's not about radio. It's not about those things. But it feels like, especially with this EP, as dope as it is, it feels like to me, in my traditional hip-hop album mind, this might be like the back end of a very good album where it's like that front end is giving you something else, Correct.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on all. We are lock in step on all of these thoughts. So listen to the person that I'm about to submit to you, and it kind of ties back into this album because I'm asking myself all of these questions about what he needs. Because you're right, the times are set up for him to win with his style because he doesn't have to be super versatile. When you said Beanie Siegel, I was like, oh, you're in my wheelhouse. Mike, when I heard Purge with Havoc, I said, that's what he needs. Havoc. Purge on there is clearly the best song. And I love how Havoc took one of Prodigy's endings and made it into a hook. That's how Hell on Earth ends. We flush through your clip, get purged. That's Prodigy shit that Havoc's using to take the hook. Mike, this is Havoc once again providing the best beat and the best hook on a dope ass album. But what
you
I
better
thought
be ready
to myself,
for that Havoc and Just Blaze verses.
Right. You're gonna lose that one too, just like you're gonna lose this Timberland one. You're about to lose. You're gonna lose the Timberland one.
I really want y'all to tune in to this Neptune Timberland one. I'm about to give you that work.
Mike, I'm gonna light that ass on fire.
I'm about to give you that work.
I ain't talking about the Neptune's track.
That record's not being played, by the way.
Oh, I'd kill you if you did that. But listen, with Purge, what I heard was, and I realized this, I was like, you know what he's good at, Mike? He's good at telling cold, detailed street narratives, just like who? Prodigy.
Yeah.
Havoc. What he needs right now is Havoc. Not even Alchemist. Havoc. That mob deep feeling, because his steez, his steeliness, his coldness, it's not Prodigy level.
But I feel what you're saying.
But he's in that wheelhouse and in that pocket. And much like Prodigy is all-time great, but not super versatile, guess what? So is this guy. Yeah. And here's the problem that I thought of too. And I was like, but damn, he don't have Prodigy's voice either. The same way that you felt about Siegel, I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, he don't got Prodigy's voice either.
Well, I feel like he could. I think he could make a Keep It Thorough. I think he could make that.
No, I do think he can make that.
Since you mentioned Prodigy. Now, I don't think he can make it in the club like what, Siegel did. No. But I think he could definitely make a Keep It Thorough and maybe even a Quiet Storm.
See, but that's what I'm saying. I think he can't make Quiet Storm.
I mean, with the right production. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Not even a little bit. Slightly. Not even a little bit. Not even. No disrespect, but no, he doesn't. No, he doesn't have that. No. Yo, because this one, I mean, Prodigy comes from a place of not caring. The P-Rock 40-inch cables, drinking white label, my chain hang down to my dick, my piece playing glass tables. No, that shit that's really happening when a dude don't give a fuck that he's articulating. That's different than thinking about it. That's where being too articulate for your own good can hurt you against somebody like Prodigy. Like, he cares enough about it, but doesn't care enough about his life that you hear a lot about it.
Yeah. CJ Kidd with the super chat says, who had the bigger impact in hip hop, NWA or Wu-Tang? That's NWA. What say you? You say Wu-Tang? I'm a bigger fan of Wu-Tang, but NWA's impact.
I mean, that's just so hard to say because when you're talking about NWA, you can immediately just say, well, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, and it's like, well, that's a whole lot. That's a whole lot.
You can't forget Eazy-E.
I'm sorry, and Easy.
Yeah. Eazy-E is Bone. Black Eyed Peas.
Mike, that might be something that's worth unpacking, like more conversationally at a later date. Just because.
Go ahead.
What I was going to say is that, what I think Ransom needs is like literally Havoc, like some Havoc Alchemist like type Prodigy treatment. What would you rate this EP?
Give me 1 second. Let me go through these super chats and I'll give you that. T. Bundy's super chat says, the younger generation measures success by jewelry and clothes, which is exactly why Akademiks used the word dusty. But the younger generation, you mean every younger generation, right? Because Correct. That could be said about the younger generation of the 80s, 70s, 90s, 2000s. I think it's easy, when we get older to just pin things on the younger generation. But when we were young, it was the same shit. It's just history repeating itself. Let me get some. Andrew Green with the super chat. Shout out to Andrew Green. Says, Jay doesn't have a great rap voice per se, but his vocal tone still cuts through tracks crystal clear for some reason because he's very smart. I think we were talking about this on our Patreon show one day, and we were just breaking down You Don't Know, and how Jay was picking his spots and where he was getting his inflections and where the beat was dropping out. And he comes through stronger when the beat gives him that, moment to.
Yes, he's intelligent.
Yeah, Mad Max says Ransom's voice is just monotone. His voice is weaker. I don't think his voice is weaker, but he is the modern day Nas. The way that he puts his words together is Nas. Is he like from Nas's tree?
I think as a lyricist, how about this? He's more as a lyricist, truthfully. Even though his rhetoric is probably closer to Nas's, actually no, I look at him more in Black Thought's realm.
Think so? Okay.
Because he's so detailed and it's so well crafted. It's like reading a thesis sometimes. It's like reading a ghetto thesis. And so I think that's more Black Thought than Nas, actually. He's just a little bit more street oriented with his rhetoric like Nas is than Thought is, I would say. But Thought still provides like ample street rhetoric. But also, too, Ransom is somebody that's like actually did a bid, a real bid. You know what I'm saying? And so that's different from somebody like he started his rap career, ended up doing a bid. And you know what I'm saying?
Right. Andre Shashir with the super chat. Shout out to Andre. He says Armani Caesar's new song, Paula Dean with West Side Gun, is fire.
Well, we're getting there.
Yes, it is. We are going to get there.
Yeah, we're getting there.
She's my favorite female rapper right now, I think. I don't know.
I would have to agree with you, Mike.
I get excited when I hear her on the track. It's the voice and it's the presence. You know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Let's rank this Ransom album and go ahead and jump to Armani since we're getting super chatted. No, because it's a 6-track EP, and unless you had like some other thoughts to add, I think we just need to rank it.
I think it's a good 4. I think it's a solid 4. I have no real critiques about it except for it leaves you open ended where you could want more, and it's not a 7 Daytona where it's like Daytona feels complete with 7 songs.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm with you on the 4. Those were some of my thoughts too. I was like, it could 4.1 it on a good day. Yeah. But then I thought about that he has the joint with 38 and they're sharing the joint. And then I just think about how Purge in the intro, I think Pain is Glory, are clearly like the standouts on here. So clear that it's like, oh, if that's your level, I needed to hear that for 6 songs. And, call Havoc. We can get to Armani.
All right. Edit Project says Nonchalant is in the chat. Shout out to Nonchalant in the chat.
Nonchalant's in the chat?
Yeah.
At 5 o'clock in the morning?
Believe so. Andrew Green with the super chat says Wu-Tang's group contract structure changed the whole industry. Group rappers going solo on different labels have the Wu to thank for that. We talked about this last episode.
Yeah, we just had that conversation.
You said that, but how many groups actually did that?
No, and I told you everybody after that.
Because does NWA count?
I said everybody different? After, not before. I'm not talking about before. It's just after. It just appears to be amplified. Before, it's like a star artist going solo causes the group to break up. The thing about Wu-Tang Clan is it's like, well, we got too many stars, so we're going to have to break this up to still come back together. Because here's what Wu-Tang Clan did that those other groups didn't do. When NWA broke up, and you heard solo material from Ice Cube and Dr. Dre, Mike, have you heard the NWA album since then? Because I'm pretty certain that Raekwon made the Purple Tape in 95, made the Purple Tape 2 in 2009. But there's 3 Wu-Tang albums that he contributed to in between then. And that's a little different than those other groups.
Shout out to Nonchalant in the chat. And you're right. I think that makes it very different for them. But what I'm saying is if we're talking about groups, that had individuals all being on different labels and then still coming back together as a group, who else did that? Because normally when groups, do their solo projects or whatever, they're all still under the same label. Like when the Fugees went solo, Wyclef and Lauren, they were still under Columbia. You know what I mean? It wasn't a Def Jam here. It wasn't an Epic here. It wasn't, Loud over here. It wasn't. I think Wu-Tang is really a one of one when it comes to that.
No, what I'm saying is that, so listen to what I'm saying.
Because even when you brought up Goody Mob as an example, all of them were under Arista. As solos.
This is what I mean. Even the way that the star power operates is different because of Wu-Tang. Like, you have an A$AP Rocky and an A$AP Ferg in the same crew that are existing and still doing projects. You have a Joel Santana, a Cameron, and a Jim Jones. You have a Jada Kiss and a Styles and a Chic. Yeah, that wasn't happening before Wu-Tang Mike. There was clearly like a front man, and the front man was going to go solo if something went wrong, and that was going to be that, and that therefore was going to spawn out separate projects. But if you think for a second that we get the Chronic, if Ice Cube doesn't leave NWA, you're wrong, because what we get is about 4 or 5 NWA albums instead.
You think so? I mean, because we got an NWA album after Ice Cube left. When everybody was in the group, who would you say was the front man of NWA?
Ice Cube.
You think so? Over Easy? Easy's the one that actually had solo work.
He shared mic time and did all the writing. Like, him and Ren did all the writing.
You're talking about behind the scenes.
It's like 70% behind the scenes and 50% in front of the scenes, so that kind of makes him the man.
Well, you're talking about behind the scenes and writing stuff. We clearly know that.
Didn't he write Express Yourself too?
Yeah.
You wrote Express Yourself too, like you wrote all that shit, Mike. That's
what I'm saying though, Coop, when they were in the group, Easy is the one that had the solo album. He did. He wasn't the front man.
That could have been part of the problem, Mike. Easy was also the one calling the shots.
Yeah, he was the front man. Let's be real.
Hold on.
In a group
hold on. Let me ask you something, Mike. Let's keep it real. And we love Easy. I love Easy. I love me some We Want Easy specifically. Now, after Straight Outta Compton, when they're releasing Eazy-E's solo album, shouldn't that have been an Ice Cube solo album if we're keeping it funky based on what we hear on Straight Outta Compton?
Of course, it's Ice Cube. Of course.
Okay, so how did Eazy end up being the front man? Because Eazy was the boss, Mike.
I'm just saying. So Eazy was actually the front man in a group with Dre and Cube. He was. It is what it is. And I think even when Cube left, and even though, he was getting his rhymes written or whatever, I think on Niggas for Life, on most of those songs, Eazy probably had the most standout verses. Real Niggas Don't Die, I definitely know that was Eazy for me.
No, Eazy was a star. Don't get it twisted, but Ice Cube was a star and a better rapper and writing shit for Eazy, Dre.
I understand what you're saying. It's Ice Cube. It's one of my 5 favorite rappers. So of course I'm not saying Eazy-E's better than Cube. I'm not saying that. But if we look at NWA, Eazy was the front man, really.
Like, not all front men are built the same, Mike. Like, Q-Tip's the front man because he's supposed to be. Eazy was the front man because he was the boss.
I think that the NWA structure is very, I don't want to say similar to Fuji's.
And understand this, Mike. And this is what I mean when Eazy's the boss. Well, Eazy gets to make a solo record. Nobody else does, but the group is still together. Right.
Okay. Who in the Fugees, who is Cube? Because I would say Clef. Because a lot of that stuff, that background stuff you're talking about, Cube did, Clef was doing that. And Lauren was the front person. Right?
Can I tell you something? I'm not the big Fugees fan that all of y'all are. I actually think that the Carnival and the Miseducation are better than the Score.
I agree with that. And I'm a huge Fuji fan.
Okay, so those albums were done with them separate. And so it's like neither one of them are that. So I get the comparison you're trying to make, but it's like...
I think the Carnival's kind of the Score part 2, in my opinion.
I think it's better than the Score.
It is better than the Score. I think it's that next level where they found out that, okay, this is where we're taking it. I think if there were a third Fugees album, it would sound more like the Carnival. I'll put it that way.
I can see that.
Now, Miseducation was some other shit. Andrew Green with the super chat says Eazy and Ren were both on Ruthless Records, the same as NWA. Wu made labels getting in bed together for sales of the group and features. The label would compete otherwise. Yeah, I mean but I'm saying they were like the only ones to do it. Like, what other group do we know of where the individual members were on
Mike,
different labels?
This is what I'm saying. The structural foundation that you're talking about, Mike, okay, so artists randomly getting together and getting records done at the drop of a dime, that's the Wu-Tang Clan effect, Mike. It wasn't happening before that.
No, you're right.
Because labels didn't have to deal with each other like that before Wu-Tang Clan. That's why I told you they changed the structural foundation. I understand the way that you look at it, because obviously they're MCs and a producer and producers. So you're looking at the music side. I'm talking about institutionally. They changed the whole structure in a way that no group ever has, because everything that you hear, anytime you're hearing a collaboration essentially from somebody that's in California, in Chicago, no, that's Wu-Tang Clan, Mike.
Well, people who
that
are
wasn't
on the
happening
same
before
label.
that. It wasn't happening before Wu-Tang Clan. Like, people have to understand, in 1996, Dr. Dre doing a beat for Nas was the first time a West Coast producer of that stature did a beat for East Coast MC of that stature. It was 1996. Hip-hop was already over 2 decades old, Mike.
Let me play devil's advocate real quick.
Wu-Tang Clan, because Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with.
Let me play devil's advocate real quick. De La Soul and Tribe weren't signed to the same label. Now, Queen Latifah and De La were. They were all Tommy Boy.
How much music did they do together?
They did a lot together. I'm just saying, like, that whole relationship of, because the whole Native Tongue, not all of those guys were, signed to the same label, and they were collaborating, heavy. I don't think, and somebody correct me in the chat if you will, I don't think Jungle Brothers was signed to the same label as Tribe either. I know Moni Love wasn't. Moni Love was Warner Brothers, because I remember her working with Prince, and a lot of that was because of her being on Warner Brothers. So yeah, I mean, it had happened, but I feel what you're saying, to the magnitude that Wu did it, where everybody was signed as a group, and then branched off individually and had their deals.
No, Jungle Brothers are Warner Brothers, Mike. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, so them and Moni were on the same label. Latifah was Tommy Boy. I know De La was Tommy Boy. Tribe was
Jive.
That's right.
Right.
Eric, the easiest one to know. Eric Terrell.
So listen, Mike. So listen to what I'm saying. That's only 3 labels having to deal with each other between about 6 or 7 acts. That's still to the label's advantage. Wu-Tang Clan is like, well, we need Inspector Deck on this Jizza album, but we need you, God, and Raekwon, and Ghostface, and Method Man, and RZA, and Killer Priest. Oh, and RZA's going to do production. Oh, and Killer Priest is going to do a guest joint with Fourth Disciple doing the track. We got to get Fourth Disciple. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
No, nobody ever had to deal with shit like that, where they're like, hold on, what? Who am I paying what? It's like you're paying all of us.
Yeah. Let me get to these super chats and we'll go to Armani Caesar's joint. Eric Terrell with a super chat says, George Clinton did the one group deal with multiple record labels. That's where RZA got the idea from. I do remember seeing that in the Parliament Funkadelic documentary. Groundbreaking, the great George Clinton. Well-versed Session says, Easy didn't want to rap, but it came down to one thing for Dre. Easy had the voice. Front man all day. Yeah. I mean, because Cube was Easy's writer for Boys in the Hood, so he was the front man. Eric Terrell says, Yellow Boy did all the beats for NWA. Dre did the production. Dre always needs a beat maker. That's why his sound changed on Death Row. No Yellow Boy. Well-versed Session says, Wu-Tang projects were like DJ Khaled projects. The features were always there, and it all fell under one executive producer, RZA. Well, from Wu-Tang to Griselda, what did you think about Armani Caesar's Paula Deen record?
I don't know, Mike. It's almost like they're making it a point, and I love the point that they're making. It's like they're throwing her in the mud this time around. Like, it sounds grittier and grimier than the Liz one did, and I mean that in a beautiful way. Almost like it's almost like they know how beautiful she is and how great her voice is, and so they're like, no, we're gonna keep her on some rap shit, because like the $100 hiccup and now this. Oh, this is even more harder rap shit than the first 2 joints that she was dropping when she was coming out with the Liz. She rapping over the Made You Look beat. No, they got her on some rap shit, Mike, and I love it, because here's what they know that we've been talking about, Mike. Well, she's a star, and when you're a star, Well, really, all you have to do is rap your ass off. And so they have her concerned, it appears to be, or she appears to be only concerned with rapping her ass off. And the beats are grimier and grittier. And I love the way that this is coming off so far. I'm excited. She's exciting.
What's gonna, and I feel the same way. You know, I love Armani Caesar. I think she's super dope, and I love hearing her on the track. The way her voice cuts through and her delivery and the production choices. I mean, top notch, in my opinion. But my question to you is, what's it gonna take for the rest of, I want to say, the hip hop populace to feel the same way about Armani Caesar that we do?
So for all this grittiness and all this griminess, Mike, I don't even say she's one hit away. She's one real banger away, though.
You know what? I think I agree with that. I think that the way that she's such a scene stealer, I would go a step down and say I think she's one verse away, one feature away on a notable record.
Right. No, how about this?
But like what Foxy was on
somebody.
Yeah, what Foxy was on I Shot You remix.
Yes.
Where people be like, yo, who is that? Same way that when I found out about her on West Side's album, I was like, yo, who is that?
I remember when you texted me, Mike. I remember when I woke up to your text, you were like, did you hear that Armani Caesar chick? I was like, I did. I said, that shit was amazing.
People are saying Shay Noir is better. Yes, Shay Noir is better. She made the better album.
Shay Noir's a better MC.
I think she's a better MC, but if we talk about somebody who's captivating on the mic, voice-wise and delivery-wise, again, you know me, I'm a big, I like 2 Chainz, man. And it ain't about 2 Chainz being the best lyricist. He's a scene stealer.
Oh,
and I think he's a dope lyricist, man. But I think that it's about presence. And that's how I feel about Armani Caesar. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so here's what Shay Noir may have on her hands. Like, and I say this respectfully because she is the better MC. I don't even think it's a conversation yet. That's more what I think about Shay and not a knock to Armani. But Mike, you can't listen to Illmatic and Ready to Die in '94 and tell me that Big is the MC that Nas is, but he's got a better voice and better delivery, and he's more charismatic, and he's more of a scene stealer. And you see how that goes?
I mean,
you feel what I'm saying?
You remember the first time? Well, the first time I heard Big, I feel like was on the Flavor in Your Ear remix. Scene stealer. Niggas is mad I get more butt than ashtrays. Fuck a fair one, I get mine the fast way. Ski mask way. I mean, even now, that's like, whoa. Scene still.
Roses, foes is shaking in their boots. A visible bully, like the roots disappear.
No, didn't he say invisible bully like the gooch from
is that what he said?
Yeah, because remember the invisible bully that Arnold had to fight on you know what I'm talking about. What's the name of the show? Help me in the chat.
Help Mike old ass. I don't.
You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about on Different Strokes. That's the show I'm talking about.
I know.
Yeah.
Dope, so check this out. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, so we can say that Shay is a better MC, but it's like, well, Mike, does she have a better voice? It's like, well, no. Well, it's like Nas had a great voice. Did he have Biggie's voice? No. It's like, was Nas a better lyricist on Illmatic than Big was on Ready to Die? It's like, well, hell yeah. It's like, well, did Biggie have more scene-stealing verses that year in a lot of people's opinion? Well, yeah. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
so,
listen, man.
It can happen. Style matters, man. Style matters. Voice matters. It's not, and this is from the guy that likes lyrics, Mike. It's not all about bars all the time. It's not.
It's not.
That's why Biggie.
I try to tell you that all the time. I try to tell you that all the time. And Coop, you there? Okay. As great as Nas is, and you know how highly I think of Nas, could he have done what Biggie did on Totals Can't You See? No. And that's what the difference between Armani and Shay Noir to me.
I'll go a step further, Mike. He probably couldn't have done it prior to 2012, maybe.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I mean. Is it's like, no, style points matters, voice matters, delivery matters, being a star matters. I told you, Big Pac and Jay's charisma level is somewhere different. Armani's charisma level is on par with Meg and Lotto's and Cardi's and Nicki's. Like, it's there. It's
Armani's one verse away.
That's what. How about this? She's a monster verse away, Mike, or so a Paul Pusha T verse, or Pusha T Runaway verse away, or what's the other one? Or like this is what I mean. She could be a song away. It's like
I Shot Your remix verse away. Could you imagine if Kanye
Storm remix verse away? Yeah.
Can you imagine if Kanye or Pusha T or somebody threw Armani on a record?
That's what I'm talking about. Is that like? How about this?
And a lot of the stuff we put in the universe ends up happening. I would love to see that happen for Armani. I would love to see her on the record with Pusha or a Kanye produced record or whatever. I think Pusha's perfect, really. I would love to hear Armani on a Pusha record.
I was actually thinking, it's like, why can't she make KD3 with Hit Boy?
I would love that'd be dope.
That's what I'm saying. He's worked with who he's worked. He worked with Fabio, ASAP Ferg, Ace Boogie with the hoodie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like he working with all them. It's like, oh, you can't do a little, he done worked with Fox before. That's right in pocket.
Shit, even J. Cole. Why not? He done jumped on Johnny P's cat.
I'm cool with Cole and Kendrick giving her some burn. If Kendrick give her some burn,
Kendrick's not gonna get. Kendrick's not giving her burn.
It's very disrespectful that you said that.
He's not.
Why not?
Kendrick don't work with anybody.
It's disrespectful.
He doesn't. When last time we heard Abs? When the last time we heard Ab-Soul on a Kendrick record?
I'm gonna say less.
I'm just saying. Now,
no, I said
J. Cole.
I said I'm gonna say less. Like you got it.
Now J. Cole will put her on the record. I could see that. That'd be dope.
Cole got a whole camp until right now. Well, he been getting down with Griselda. He's on Johnny P's caddy.
Yeah.
I like the Cole pick.
Yeah.
I like the Cole pick.
I think she's one notable verse away for everybody kind of feeling like how we're feeling about her. And going back and listening to the Liz, like, yo, she's dope. Because even when she got on the premiere tracks, man, she killed that shit.
Simply Done. Yeah, she killed Simply Done.
Yeah.
I told you, her and Benny sound great together. So what I want to hear, it's like, and I love how they started on $100 Hiccup. Oh, it's three of rap's best voices. That's Armani, Stove, and Benny on there. And then she follows up with a gritty joint with Westside. And it's like, no, I'm excited. I felt like, how about this? I felt like even something like Ginger Rothstein should have got pushed a little harder.
Yeah.
The first time around. And so if there's a record like that even sitting around, like just kick it a little harder.
I feel like the Liz was kind of a warm-up, and it was a really great warm. I think we talked about it when it came out on one of our shows in 2020, and we were like, yo, this was a lot better than we even expected. And there were already expectations there. So it superseded expectations, and I feel like it's a warm-up in the sense where her features after it, she's vastly improved even more. So I'm looking forward to what they're doing with the Liz too.
It's a little better every time we hear her, Mike.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, I love this joint. I don't know if it's gonna make the album or anything, but if this is in tow with what they're doing with the album, I'm with it. I'm looking forward to the Liz.
See, this is what I mean. She can be rare. I told you when we reviewed the Liz that, well, she can take that Megan, Lotto, Nicki, Cardi B crowd, but she can also have some of that Shay and that Sims and that Love crowd.
She's a hybrid.
Like she can occupy both crowds.
Yeah.
For different reasons, because you can't tell me she can't MC, Mike. I just heard her rapping over the Made You Look beat. She can MC.
She can rhyme. I mean, we've heard her rhyme with Love and Shay. She can rhyme.
She's on Food for Thought.
Yeah.
That is one of the highlight tracks on there.
Yeah, she can rhyme. So yeah, that's not a question.
Even like, how about this? You want to know what her problem is right now, even rhyme wise? Well, she's the third best lyricist in her camp as far as the females are concerned. But it's like I told you, well, there hasn't been a camp that's had 3 females this good in it before ever too. And it's like, well, she's a bigger star and has a better voice than them. So it's like, we can call this shit even and keep on going.
I would love to hear all 3 of them do a whole project together.
I would love that. I think that would be awesome for our culture too.
I would
if
love
they were
to
to put
hear
that together. That's a real 3 the Hard Way album.
Definitely. I would love to hear that. Yeah. Shay, Armani, and Love, that'd be a great project. You know, like I said, I'm looking forward to the Liz too. and I'm looking forward to Unconfused. Those are the two albums that, you know, we're not talking about like that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, hold on. Let me get to this too. And I'll tell you this, Mike. Don't be surprised if the Liz 2 drops next week, because it's like
Really?
they dropped 100. Right, because look, they dropped $100 Hiccup about 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
They just dropped this new joint. They dropping that Made You Look freestyle again. They said Liz 2 date coming soon. Next 2-3 weeks, Mike, because they don't leave shit hanging up in the air for long. I haven't seen them in the last couple of years since we're doing this project. I think the longest project that it took to come out, that they said was coming out, was God Don't Make Mistakes by Conway. And I think that might have taken about 3 months from the time they started pubbing it. So
Does
it's like
Andre Shashir, you got any information for us?
If they pubbing it, Mike, like that's part of the reason why I fuck with Griselda too. Well, if they pub something, it's coming. So when they're saying Liz 2 coming soon, they don't mean December. They don't mean December when they say Liz 2 coming soon.
I'm excited. Somebody give us some information. The Raising Head with the super chat says, "Is Ready to Die better than Illmatic? If the One More Chance remix is on there, how does the One More Chance remix or Who Shot You change Ready to Die?" I would say this. That's a good question. Respect has to go, though. For me. Respect and what's the other song, Coop?
Friend of Mine.
Friend of Mine, yes. Respect and Friend of Mine have to go, and Who Shot You and One More Chance remix have to be on.
That's too hypothetical.
It is too hypothetical, so no.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like saying I get to like take like Fast Life and put it on Illmatic and like take Eye for an Eye, and like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh well, if we're taking records and went somewhere else, it's like I'm gonna take me some Nas records and went somewhere else and put them on.
Well, yeah, if you're doing that, you got to take off One Time for Your Mind or something, right?
Oh no, I can leave all my stuff and still beat Ready to Die and just like add on a couple more tracks. That's what
I will
I'm saying.
say this though, I think that the versatility of Ready to Die is a lot more vast than Illmatic.
I think Ready to Die can be more fun to listen to, but it's not better. That's what I mean. And like, this is what I mean. Like Ready to Die and Illmatic, it's like, it's truly the conversation of like a top 3 rap album versus a top 10-ish rap album.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that the gap is wide, but there is some like gap, you know, like there's no, like for whatever you feel about Ready to Die, it's like, life's a bitch, Mike. Like just lyrically speaking.
Yeah. Nah, for real. I woke up early on my born day. I'm 20. It's a blessing.
Both, I mean, just those both. Like Biggie's just not there yet lyrically on Ready to Die. Like the MC is there, the presence is there, the star is there, but it's like, no, that shit ain't, no.
Ray Rims. Shout out to Ray Rims, man. Super Chat says, Armani Caesar is a star. However, she's missing a key component every star needs. Extravagant videos.
They get pretty extravagant in the videos. I mean, they have Armani like decked out in the furs and in front of the Maybach. Like, I don't know about that.
Listen, man, I think with the furs and all, and I've seen the shoots and all that, if she were to get a feature on a notable record with all of that swag and approaching the record like that, people would be like, yo, who is that?
You know who I thought about? What if you thought about somebody who's, Mike, what about Ghostface or Snoop? Somebody whose swag and personality is real, real big like hers. Like, because her personality's big. She might be intimidating some people. Like, how about this? She has more star power than all the guys, too. Like, let's not get it messed up. There's some little Kim shit going on. It's like...
It is.
She's more of a star. She has more star power than Benny, Stove, Conway, Westside. Like, if we talking star power, she got more of it than them. And I ain't talking about her being sexy as hell. I'm talking about, like, actual star power, charisma. Oh, she's got that shit. So what do you say to somebody like a Snoop or a Ghost? Like,
I like it, but what I would rather say is Chains. That's
Chains?
what I...
She's already been on the record with Chains on 4.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, one of his records. See, this is what I'm saying. Like, she needs to be on one of these people's records.
He's probably gonna go Lotto, Mike. That's Southside.
What about Rick Ross? I mean, he already did a record with Lotto, remember? He did a record with Lotto last
Southside,
time.
Mike. I'm just saying that's Southside.
Yeah, he did a record with Lotto last time. What about Rick Ross? Somebody said Rick Ross in the chat.
I can see the Ross thing.
I
think where is Ross at in terms of his following that's going to benefit her? Because his position is different now in the sense that it's like, well, he's in kind of like an elder statesman, like kind of boss appeal type of status shit. It's like, you don't just look at Rick Ross about the music now. You look at all the shit that is going on. This nigga's having like hip hop dinners at his house and shit. People are renting out his estate half the time. He's chopping down trees on Instagram, Mike.
It would have to be presented in a way as like he's presenting us Armani Caesar. kind of like, I don't know if it needs to be and I'm not suggesting this, but you remember how Big Boy signed Janelle Monáe, and then I guess to amplify what she was doing, he made a deal with Puff, and so they both were behind her. Maybe that would be how Rick Ross could come into fold and present her to the world in that way. I don't know. Not saying that she can't come out the way she is, but if, like you said, if she would have worked with Ross, it would almost have to be one of those things like Ross is presenting us Armani Caesar, because Ross does have a really good resume with putting out stars. I mean, you got to give him that. Even people who've already been established and who've already been around, because Meek Mill, that wasn't his first stop. Same thing with Wale. True. Andre Shashir says, Rome Streets dropping next week off of Griselda. I have no info, but in my opinion, she'll probably be a couple of weeks after. Okay. Thank you, Andre Shashir.
And I see people saying in the chat that Che is part of Trust Gang, and it's like, I know Che and 38 are part of Trust, but it's like they all work together.
Yeah.
They all do work together. It's very Wu-Tang-ish, Mike.
Mad Max says something that Mad Max says something that I'm thinking, but I wasn't at liberty to say. He says, "Coop, Snoop and Ghost ain't even hot in my generation. Armani needs a record with Nicki or somebody popping like Kodak, Dirk, you naming guys kids don't care about." I like the Kodak pick.
I don't. What's she gonna do with Kodak?
Huh? I rock with Kodak. Ray Rim says, I needed Armani being driven around Manhattan, then back to Buffalo in the back of the Maybach, not standing in front of it in a closed studio.
Right.
You want to go to the Cam record? Cam album? What did you have next on the menu?
The Prodigy single, but we can kind of...
Okay.
I mean, we can just gloss right quick because it's like we still don't know like the makings of this project or when it's dropping. Mm-hmm. We've heard the DJ Premier joint, you know what I'm saying? And now we've heard this one. This is called the Hegelian Dialect 2, the Book of Heroin. Mm-hmm. So this record's called You Will See. I mean, Mike, I told you I actually like this record.
I do too.
More than the Primo record because it's out of the box for Prodigy. Rest in peace, obviously. But, I love the way that they're putting this together so far based on the two tracks that I've heard. It's like they threw us the street joint, and now they're throwing us like the melodic switch up. And, here's the thing about a record that I always want to hear. Well, how comfortable does the artist sound? Well, doesn't he sound comfortable? I know it's his posthumous, but it's like it sounds super comfortable and fluid.
Right. I've been very impressed by the way both of these songs have come together. They don't sound like posthumous efforts to me.
They don't. It feels very organic and natural. It feels like stuff he would have wanted to keep and release had he been here at some point.
Yeah. I'm very impressed with it because a lot of the times when you get these posthumous efforts, they sound like they were put together, for lack of a better term. And this one, from what I'm hearing so far, sounds really good.
Right.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to the project. Any information on when that project's dropping in full?
I was up to about 3-4, just like listening, digging through stuff. I didn't look too heavy, but it just says that it's coming soon. I don't want them to wait too long though, because both of these songs are circulating right now, and they're both really dope records. And I don't want them to lose steam behind it, because like with this one, I think they had a chance of like getting like some play in some spots, and it's just a really good record from Prodigy. At the end of the day,
definitely go check that joint out. Now Cameron dropped a project.
He did.
I like it.
I told you it was good, wasn't it? You enjoyed it, didn't you?
I enjoyed it, man. Cam sounds good. I know Cam's about to do this tour with Mace, and who else is on that tour? I'm sorry. I see the flyer in my head. It's Mace and who else, Coop?
Kiss.
Kiss. Yes, Mace and Kiss. And shout out to Kiss, too, man. I saw this clip where Jada was talking about how he hated ghostwriting for Puff.
That's funny. Hey, Mike, I'm going to let you get started right quick on this. I need to, I got the greens on right quick. I just need to stir the greens
Coop
right
got
quick.
The greens on. He's stirring the greens. Got to whip the greens real quick. You know what? While you're doing that, I want to get to this other topic that no, actually, you know what? We'll just talk about the album that Cam dropped. Cam is back in the form, and I was really impressed with it. I want to know what the people thought about the album that Cam dropped, and I want to see what new music y'all are rocking with that came out today as well. Um, let's see. Hopefully, I didn't miss any super chat. Mad Max here. He says, "Killer Cam, Cam, Killer Cam, Miss Cam. Did you like the new Cam'ron? Sounds like he's going back to form, going back to production that he's used to, that we're used to hearing him over. Dame's involved in the project. This is kind of like a album to kind of get people ready for the tour." Ray Rims with the super chat says, "The Hooligan Dialect Part 1 is my favorite Prodigy album of all time. I highly recommend you brothers listen to it at night if you already haven't."
I heard it when it came out. Maybe I need to listen again. I still thought, as far as solo projects, Return of the Mac.
Well, Kid Cudi's dropping next Friday. That's what I'm hearing. And what did you think
Gibbs is
about
dropping next Friday, so I mean, I was actually thinking, if I was Gibbs, this is what I mean about he might be feeling slightly disrespected, Mike, because that's why I was bringing up the run he's been on with Pinata and Alfredo and Bandana. And if you look at all his features, Mike, he's been blistering all the features for years too.
Yeah.
And it's like, usually when a guy drops albums like that consecutively and blisters features the way that he's been doing and is notable and notarized the way that he is, there usually aren't this many people dropping projects when he's dropping his project.
No,
you feel me?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and
I
here's the thing, they're doing
things.
themselves a disservice, I feel like, because if that project sounds the way his projects are literally being known to sound, you did yourself a disservice.
Well, next week we're going to be talking about Freddie for sure. We're definitely going to be talking about Freddie for sure next week.
Like, that's what I mean. He's already got pole position. It's like, but he's got clear pole position because it's like literally, unless Nas or J. Cole is dropping, like nothing's changing his pole position. So why would you drop knowing he got pole position?
Did you do you think that it's probably going to be better than Pusha T? Do you predict that it'll be better than Pusha's album?
Yes, I told you, Mike, when we
said
picked our albums
no
of the year, it's Black Thought by you and Nas by me, and I was like, but I wouldn't be surprised if Freddie made the album of the year or if J. Cole did, because those were the two people that I looked at, and it's like, no, I'm not going to be an old head and think that like the old guy is going to make the album of the year every year like Nas just did. This is a young man's game. And even though Freddie's even like closer to our age, it's like his run is happening in this era. Even though
he's in his prime.
He's in his prime right now. Yeah. Same thing with Cole. And so it's like, no, that guy. How about this? Freddie and Cole are supposed to be dropping the albums of the year, Mike. Not no goddamn Black Star or Black Thought or Nas. What the fuck is this, 1999?
Mad Max with the super chat says, yeah, I like the old boy sound, Cam. I always thought that he was underrated. Production, soul sample, Killer is different. Killer's rhyme scheme is crazy. And one thing that I did notice from this project, the lyrics are in play. Now, maybe not his feeling, you know what I mean? Like his inflections and all of that, but he's real chill with that. But you could tell he really put his pen to work on this. Android Green says, did y'all go to the New York State of Mind concert? We had people out there, but it was just tough getting down there on a Thursday. I can't believe they had an Atlanta concert on Thursday. I'm still peeved about that. But hey, we got some reports on it. What did you say, Coop? My bad. I mean to interrupt you.
Well, what I wanted to say is that I thought that this album was more lyrically sharp than I was expecting to, and that made me think what? I said that Versus did something to Cam. Because Cam's a star.
Yeah.
Cam don't like getting done like that. Actually, if you want to go by, that's what I was trying to tell you, Mike. If you actually want to go by hits and records sold as a solo artist, he was the biggest solo star up there that night. So the biggest
I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the Versus effect and him getting back to the pen in this way.
Yeah, no. So listen to what I said. When I heard This Is My City, I said, this is classic Cam. I said, this is Come Home With Me Cam. Then all I really wanted, and then I listened to my notes. I said, this album is intentionally confessional and nostalgic. I said, this hook is great. I said, he spaces and paces on the beat as well as anyone. It is one of his understated and best traits. Like, he finds space and pockets on the beat to rhyme, to stop, to be witty, to punch in, to ad-lib that very, very few MCs can, Mike. Like, his timing is Jay-Z level timing, as in, like, the best.
I think Cameron's one-word flow goes so understated and how impactful it was in the 2000s. Like, you can hear the impact that his style had on people like Jeezy, Wayne, Ross.
I heard
mean,
Jeezy
pretty much the
all
whole
over
damn
Cam
game.
shit when I was listening to it today.
Yeah. Cam is a lot more impactful than people give him credit for. I wanted to actually do an article on that one time, man, just to kind of decipher all of the styles that come from Cam's tree and the way that he, puts together lyrics. Now, I know people laugh about computers puting and stuff like that, but even in Rick Ross's flow, like that classic Rick Ross flow that we know of, it's very Cameron-ish, like the way that the rhymes come together. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's what I mean. That pace, that space, that timing, that repetitive nature that sounds funky, and that ability, and this is why artists pick it up, that ability to punch and tap in your ad-lib somewhere and make it sound even flyer.
Yep. That like Ross uses that all the time.
Right, that's Cam.
Yeah, that's Cam.
You want to know what? And he reminds you of that on records like, remember Popeyes with the clips?
Yep.
Yeah, that's where that shit comes from.
Cam's one of those guys, when he first started rapping like that, I was like, what the fuck is this?
Why is he doing that?
Exactly. And after a while, you get it. Those are trailblazers. When people do things like that. But you want to know
what? And this is what I mean about, well, how about this? He and Ja Rule, see, something happened with them two where they realized that the pocket that they were in, it wasn't about to work. Like, he realized, he's like, well, hold on. My shit don't come off as hard as DMX. And lyrically, I'm not Jadakiss in Styles and Pun. How am I going to win this fight? Because that's his class. Like, his class is Jadakiss, Styles, Pun, Cannabis, DMX. Like, that's the time he's coming out. Biggie was checking for him for a reason, though, Mike, because he was a star. Yep. And he just needed time, much like Ja Rule did, to come up from out of the shadows and become his own star. And the more he started becoming his own star, I think the start of it was What Means the World to You.
You know who else did that? T.I. That style that T.I. was running with on I'm Serious was not going to do it for him. But he didn't come
out of any shadows, Mike. Cam came out of some shadows.
No. I'm just talking about the ability to just stop and say, you know what, I need to switch up everything. And Cam switched up everything. I don't know where this flow came from. Some people say Santana is somewhat instrumental in that. I don't know. But what Cam did with his rhyme scheme, shit is crazy, man. And it's so, and when you think about it, you think that flow didn't really exist before him. It's impressive. Reggie with the super chat says, Coop cooking greens perfectly in the Instant Pot pressure cooker. Set it and forget it.
No, sir. Green's been on since about, what time is it? 7:30. Yeah, Green's been on since about 4 o'clock.
Low and slow, man. The Raisin Head with the super chat says, who would have thought that the almost 40-year-old and up rappers would be the best rappers in the game? You all
That's what
can
I'm saying.
name
It's not
them.
supposed to be this way.
So you all can name them. Love the show. Appreciate it.
No, it's not supposed to be this way, though. Like, I be wanting to cover the... Hold on. So let me even tell people something. Like, G Herbo just came out a single with Future, and it's like, well, we were talking about it, and it's like, well, is it better than the Armani single? It's like, no. Is it better than the Prodigy single? It was like, no. And it's like, well, who we going to end up talking about? Who's the scene still in there? Well, Future. It's like, well, that's not fair to G Herbo. And so it's like the younger dudes, like, need to stop letting the old dudes take it from, like, Mike, I'll give you an example of it. Like, Roger Federer is retiring tonight.
Oh, shit. How did I not know about that?
Because you're American.
Good point.
He's playing his final match in the Rod Laver Cup. Him and Rafael Nadal are playing doubles together. He wanted his last match to be with Nadal.
That's what's up. I love those guys, both of them.
Right. But those guys have been running shit since they're our age, Mike. They've been running shit since we were in our teenage and 20 years.
Yeah.
Like those two guys specifically, like in the last 15 years, have won about 40% of the majors.
Well,
Like,
who do you think should be running hip hop right now, specifically? Like, I mean, I don't want to say just a vacuum of younger generation, but what individual MC do you think has the ability in the younger generation to be running things right now?
that's younger or is just part of this generation?
Let's just say somebody who's under 30. Let's just say that.
Well, I've been saying Lil Baby, but it's like I keep seeing that he's getting all the accolades and the shows, but it's like I'm waiting to see where the music matches that. So I've been saying him for a minute. I was very impressed with what the Baby did with his album today, Mike.
I like the Baby's album today.
I thought it was a nice response. That's West Side Charlotte, you know what I'm saying? So I'm always going to support if the shit's dope, of course. That's literally my side of town, specifically.
Well, the Baby actually was the star of this generation, but you know, he got derailed a little bit, and he addressed that on the new
how about
album.
this? I wasn't okay with that because I didn't feel like he had the music to go with it. But there's some music on here.
He got versatility, man. Like and he can tell he can actually rap for real, and he can actually get on pop singles. He can go out there and make records with, you know what I'm saying, the street shit that's out there. I mean, he has some real versatility, and his flow, people say he need to switch up his flow, but you could tell he does that flow because it's working. You know what I mean? You can tell he can switch it up.
He's gotten better though too, Mike. No,
Yeah.
He's gotten better at switching up his flow.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being a homer when I say that. No, he's gotten better at that. Like I've been critical of him at times. The project was very, very impressive to me because I feel like he's a home run hitter, and I like it when home run hitters hit home runs. And this album has home runs. It's like you walk through the stadium, you know, to see certain people hit home runs. And so it's like when you're listening to his project, it's like, well, where's it going to bang at? And it's like, no. It's got plenty of slots and spaces in there it bangs at. I still think he's inconsistent. On a personal level, I can still hear the 3-6 Mafia influence on my hometown that I don't think is ever going to die. I was there when that 3-6 Mafia influence was occurring, and so I know how real it is because that's what I really hear when I hear him.
Well, they influenced all of us, so.
I hear that the west side of Charlotte specifically, Mike, because he's from Huntersville, like 3-6 Mike everywhere, like when I was younger. And so like I can hear that in the style and the types of songs that he likes to make. And I mean, when I mean he's west side, that video he did where he's signing the pregnant chick's stomach?
Yeah.
That's my cousin.
Oh, yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, that's my cousin, but he was on the west side. My cousin's still on the west side. But that's my little cousin.
This is the younger artist that I was hoping would have the album of the year. I'm going to say Joey, man.
I thought about Joey, but then I thought about, you said star, though. You said who's supposed to be running this? Like, as in this year?
You don't think that Joey has
year?
star power? I think he does.
I was thinking him and Trav need to be the ones that are actually running it. You told me to pick one person.
Yeah. Is Trav under 30?
How old is Trav? That's valid.
Yeah, because
like 31 now.
Probably
30, 31.
Because I want to say him and Quavo are right there at that.
How old is Joey?
Mark.
No, Joey's young.
Yeah, Joey's young. I remember us covering Joey when he was coming out of high school. Yeah, I mean, I think Quavo and Travis
31.
I think they're above that mark. I think the only Migo that's under 30 might be Takeoff, I believe.
Mike, it wouldn't be any of them anyway.
Mad Max to the super chat says, Cam Style Max Unique Plus. He said his alternative technique is next level. Maybe number one. Him or Pop K. Dot great at that too.
See, this is what I mean. So Joey Badass is 27. You understand?
Joey's 27 now? Jesus.
It happens fast. Mike, when Nas was 27, people thought his career was almost over. But on the flip side to it, Jay-Z's career was just starting when he was 27.
Brandon Sloan says, can I pay y'all to review a track of mine via email? Email us at info@accordingtohiphop.com. We'll see what can work out. We would love to hear new tracks. Morris says, Coastal Contra gets it. Those young cats pay homage. We got to get on Coastal Contra. We hear about them every show. Mad Max says, no Herbo slander, Coop. G Herbo just dropped a great project last year.
The G Herbo project was solid last year, but what I'm trying to say, so this is what I mean when I'm bringing up like Federer and Nadal and Djokovic. Do you understand that like tennis is a game that's about, quite frankly, your endurance, and endurance, quite frankly, is a young man's game. See, hip hop is about energy and feel. It's a young man's game.
That's real.
So when these
young
when these old men keep whipping these young men's ass on the tennis court, I want you to understand that this year, like Nadal and Djokovic, Mike, who are closer to our age bracket and Social Security than people who should be winning majors, won 3 of the 4 majors. And the only reason that they didn't win the last one is because Djokovic wasn't allowed to come to the U.S. because of vaccination. And Nadal literally has had a tear in his abdomen since Wimbledon and was trying to play hurt. And a 19-year-old who's actually from Spain who idolizes Nadal, named Alcaraz, won the U.S. Open. But like literally, even this year, the old guys were whooping the young guys' ass. Even in tennis, it's like one of those things that's going on where it's looking like generationally, guys like LeBron, Tom Brady, Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, Serena Williams, Tiger Woods, go look around. They're still whooping ass in sports where you're really not supposed to be whooping nobody's ass no more at your age.
Why is this happening?
Because these punk ass kids don't care. Now get off my lawn.
Now this is what I will say in hip hop.
Get off my lawn.
I don't think that the younger generation really cares about being the best like that. Everybody just wants to do their thing.
Give me
and you know what?
Bitches.
In some senses, Coop, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like I don't feel like groups like Tribe and them were out here trying to be the quote unquote best. Maybe they were. I don't know. I heard it in the music, but it had like a carefree, youthful attitude, at least on the first album. Maybe on the Low End Theory they got serious and was like, I want to be the best. I don't know, but it's not always a bad thing. But yeah, when you still got the elder statesmen out here making better albums than
it's
the
like this. You want to know what today's rappers do now? See, this is what's wrong with today's game. And I say this like, you call me an old head or ever. Well, there didn't used to be a menu that you could order off of and pick your lifestyle out. And like what's happening is it's like these niggas is all taking the OJ package. Like they're reading the menu, there's like different packages. Like you could take the OJ Simpson package or Michael Jordan package. The OJ package, Mike, it's like, hey, do you want to be in TV commercials and live in California and fuck white bitches? It's like, give them the OJ. And that's what the rappers are concerned with. So they walking in and ordering off the menu like, give me the OJ. No, give me the Michael Jordan. Let me go coast to coast on these.
Let me play devil's advocate real quick. Maybe.
Yeah, you can play devil's advocate all you want, but these niggas is walking into the line and they're ordering what type of lifestyle that they want.
Maybe the albums that we're used to hearing structurally, maybe they just don't know how to make those albums, and their focus is more so on staying relevant and putting out hot singles.
You want to know why that is, Mike?
Why?
Because record labels killed the A&R.
Well, you know why that is. Because albums don't sell anymore, and artists can go straight through SoundCloud and get popping.
That's what I'm saying, but we're not teaching the artists the craft or helping
they don't
cultivate
have
the
to.
craft. The music is still going to suffer because here's the reality of the matter. They keep on trying to reformat this game because as much as they keep on trying to make it seem like it's not happening, streams keep going down because people keep finding different ways.
Well, this is the reality of the situation.
One thing that's going to take streams back up, like I tell you, you know what takes streams back up? A Thriller or Purple Rain quality album.
Well, this is the problem, though, if we want to be real about this. The labels, they don't invest in artists anyway. What they do is they invest in something that's already moving. They don't see a talent and say, you know what, we're going to take this in and we're going to mold this talent and give it time to actually, we're going to actually put in the work, and then people are going to hear the end product. We actually hear records from artists on the come up that should just be demos. You know what I'm saying? Like SoundCloud is the demo section of rap and rappers on the way up. Those are records that we shouldn't even be hearing. You know what I'm saying? Like these records that shouldn't even be out here to the masses are out to the masses, and they're learning on the job. Like I remember when I first heard Lil Yachty, I'm like, what the hell is this? And you could tell that
So
he
how
was
about this?
learning on the job, but people liked the records, so they were going. You know what I'm saying?
No, see, I understand what day and age we live in, and so here's what I would submit to you. The other podcasts I do, Mirror Music, like Andrew talks to me about how, like, well, a lot of the Beatles' biggest singles, Coop, like, they're not on any albums. I was like, that was that '60s run where everybody just made singles
Right.
instead. He's like, yeah, the Beatles are part of responsible for this whole album making process. They were
Yep.
making singles before that,
Yep.
and so let's go ahead and juxtapose that like we do on Mirror Music and bring it forward to According to Hip Hop right quick. Well, I'm totally okay if an artist wants to sit up here instead of putting out an album during the course of the year, especially with how streaming and how this platform and how it works today. Well, if they just want to release about 5, 6, 7 songs as singles and throw them out like that, I'm okay with that. But here's the reality, Mike. We're not getting that. And you want to know why we're not getting that? Because these people that are big stars, well, they're not talented enough to release that level of output of high level stuff that's going to not hurt their notoriety if they do it that way. So they need the album to hide the talent that they're not. Because Paul McCartney and John Lennon's ass could have just made singles all day. But you're not that type of writer or that type of artist that you can just keep on cranking out song after fucking classic song like that, are you? These artists need the album, and so they need to be more concerned about it because they're the ones that need it. Because the reality of the matter is that for your best hit-making artist, Mike, you might get 3 out of 12 are going to slap, like on that hit level making, which means you're going to bat. It's like baseball, Mike. You're going to bat like 275, 300 to be considered a good player.
Right.
And so don't tell me that this streaming world works for you because it's like, no, you can't drop 7 hot ass songs in a year. You can't.
Well, I think it does work for them as far as the access and how quickly and on demand that their audience is able to have to the music. Now, the other part of it, Coop, is the fact that I think that these artists are touring and on festivals and all kind of shows a lot more than artists in the previous era were as well. But I don't think they have. First of all, they don't really know how to make albums like that, right? And then on top of that, they're always performing, they're always touring, and they don't really take that time out to say, you know what, album mode, locking down on the album. It's only like guys like Drake that do that type of stuff.
No, see, this is what I'm saying, Mike. You can't give them a hall pass like that when the Roots made when things fall apart like half the time while they were touring in Europe.
Well, they come from a different era. Like I said, they have the know-how already. When you already, like you said earlier, you don't have the education, and then you're out here, don't have the time to really sit there and focus on an album. There's really not their generation hasn't even given anybody the need for an album. Because mixtapes kind of killed that.
Yes, they have because their albums don't be that good. Like they
you're saying that
the need.
You're saying that from your perspective.
No, listen to what I'm trying to say, Mike. And here's where the gap is musically. It's like, well, your album's not like that. Well, all the singles you drop need to be. You need to understand that.
But again, do you think their audience cares about their albums not being like that? I want to ask Mad Max.
Well, here's
Mad
the thing.
Max is in that generation.
Hold on.
Does your generation care about albums, Mad Max? I want to know.
Well, here's what I'm saying. And what I'm telling you is that they don't care. But what I'm saying is that they should, because the shelf lives on these artists is so much more shorter because of this train of thought that the artist has adapted. It's like how about this? You have it used to be, how about this? Nicki been having a run. But now it seems like every 2-3 years, somebody's popping up trying to replace what, you know what I'm saying? And it didn't used to be that way.
Yeah. The Raising Head with the super chat says, Coop, my people are from Amy James in Charlotte. I grew up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Salute, homeboy.
Okay, I used to work, my man Wayne that I used to work with at Manifest used to live in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Mike, the first hip-hop, B-boy breakdancing show that I ever saw actually happened at this little underground club in Rock Hill.
Oh, nice.
Where they used to let the high school kids in, but there was cats on the floor spinning and breaking and b-boying and graffiti outside, and that's the first time I had ever seen that visually with my own eyes. So I remember Rock Hill well for that. Yeah, that was the first underground club I went to, was in Rock Hill.
Nas the GOAT with the super chat says, Simba's album was great. He has some potential. I keep hearing about that. I'm going to really dig into that this week.
Okay. we're going to get to the Simba album. I'm going to be honest with you. We had so much music to cover. It's like we had to take the albums that were going to have a little bit more brevity so we can get to all of them. So all the albums that were like an hour or more or closer to, it's like we're going to get to. So we're going to get to the Simba, the ESTG.
Mm-hmm. T.
like
Nitty says, Coop, how you feel about Petey Pablo?
He wasn't indicative at the time for who we were as MCs. And I know because I was an MC around that time. That's why I told you it's like, no, the MC that exists in North Carolina is more of the Rhapsody and J. Cole variety, but I like Petey. And Petey's actually from one of my dear friends who I've known for a while that I still correspond with, Trio. Trio's from Greenville, which is around the area where Petey's from.
Mad Max says,
Trio.
Mad Max says, I meant alteration techniques, not alliteration techniques. Excuse me. My eyes, man. I meant alliteration techniques, not alteration techniques. Yes, definitely. Sorry about that. Let's see. Where is the other super chat? Mad Max says, most of those people who owed in sports on PDEs, cough, cough, LeBron, allegedly. I was thinking about that the other day. Not LeBron specifically, but, you know, some people be juicing. It is what it is. Do you think that the Yankees, what's his name, that just hit 60? Think he's juicing? Aaron, what's his name?
Care.
Huh?
I don't care. Barry Bonds is the best baseball player that ever existed. I don't give a damn what Aaron Judge is doing to be, because people here's what, like, he just tied Babe Ruth's record. It's like,
who cares?
I was like, I'd be like, that's great. I was like, tell me what year Babe Ruth hit 60 home runs again? In 1927. I mean, when you could call my grandfather nigger and get away with it in public, kiss my ass with that shit. Barry Bonds.
Mad Max says, we care, but don't care about albums at the same time. Like, if we get a great album, we're going to praise it. If it's whack, we're going to make it, we're going to make memes. But it's mostly about playlists now. Interesting. I agree with that. Playlists, okay. Definitely. 36 Chambers says, 36 Chambers says, I'm 29, and we do care about albums still, but the culture is shifting to singles now. At most, we get EPs, but full albums don't make money like that now. Honestly, when you think about it, full albums waste money. I don't want to say waste money. They spend more money unnecessarily. If you got an audience that only is expecting singles and EPs, why would you dump a whole bunch of money into 15 to 17 tracks as a business? You know what I mean?
I told you, hold on, Mike. Before the podcast, the year before the podcast started, I told you when I realized Ye was dropping, when I heard about him dropping those 7-song albums consecutively, I was like, I want to cover that and write about that, Mike. I said, that's the wave. I said, he can see where the minds of the generation is going because he's forward thinking. And I said, and this is the thing, the 7-song album is going to be the thing now because people can't digest more than that. You have to be grandfathered in. You have to be a Busta Rhymes, a Snoop, a Nas, a Jay, a Ice Cube, a Wayne, a Drake. You got a Cole, a Kendrick. It's like you got to be a certain type of way to just even give them 15 songs.
Well, even on ELE 2. I mean, I think ELE 2 was a dope project. I think it might have had too many songs. What do you think?
It did. No, that's what it suffered from.
Yeah.
I feel like KD1 had too many songs. It's like you could have kept some of that.
Andrew Green with the super chat says, what percentage of KD3 do y'all think is done? And what percentage do y'all think will be completed after this tour?
I only had one thought about this. I think most of the album was done before he even went on tour.
I think so, too.
But Mike, let me submit something to you. He is on tour with Wu-Tang Clan.
Mm-hmm.
And so what if Raekwon or Ghostface or Jizza or Deck or Method Man pop up on KD3? Wouldn't you like that?
I would. Even if they're not, though. They've all been building with each other on tour. So,
I mean, they've known each other since they were teenagers now. Like, they're approaching 50. Like, they've known each other longer than they haven't known each other.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
And so when it's like that, it's like, well, if he's on tour and there is some extra stuff to do, well, it's like, well, has a fan of lyrics, which is like, you know, the Nas pocket, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Aren't you excited that if you are going to get something, it's probably going to be inspired from being on tour with Wu-Tang or actually have some Wu-Tang Clan members on it?
I'm gonna go into this like I went into the other ones. I don't want to have any expectations. So
We've walked in without expectations and we've walked away. You know, like how about this? Like, you know, what Gibbs has done and what Nas have done is very comparable to bring them both up. Like these last three projects, if you look at them, it's like, well, 4.25, 4.5, 5. It's like, yeah.
yeah.
And so both of them, it's like not walking in with expectations. It's like, but you know, your last shit was just like, you know.
Mad Max says, also my generation has. He said, also my generation has the most options than the previous eras. Excuse me. Like it's really subgenres. Like you'll have a kid who likes Dirk, then another one that likes K-Dot, then someone who likes Cardi. Yeah. And then you got somebody that listens to all of them because you're able to skip around. Like what I think what people who never really had to go into a record store to buy albums doesn't really understand is the fact that you kind of get boxed in to the certain
that's
artists
what's wrong
that you
with you. No. That's what's wrong with you hoes. You got too many options. You can just go on Tinder and swipe.
But see, no, I think having a lot of options is cool and it keeps people eclectic because there's a lot of records in the record store that I never took a chance on because it was so outside of my box. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean.
And there are albums that I wish I would have got on when I was younger, but I didn't because I didn't take a chance on.
No, this is what I'm... Okay, so Mike, I'm going to say this respectfully. This is what I mean when I'm like, the music now is like Tinder. You can just swipe left. But it's like, I don't like that shit because it's like, well... You don't know how that... Music. How about... I'm going to say this respectfully, Mike. It's like, well, she can show you that ass on Tinder, but you don't know how that ass looks when she's walking away. That might do something to you. Like, it's different when you get it in your hands live. You know what I'm saying? And
so all about the music or you talking about the ass?
Both. It's the same thing. You need to put your hands on it live is what I'm saying. Like this is what I'm saying. This is like, I can look at a woman visually, like digitally, and she can be aesthetically pleasing, Mike, but there's nothing like that woman that like gets up and walks and you're watching her body move and the curve and the dips and the gap. You feel what I'm saying?
Real life.
It's not the same shit as the motherfucker on the screen, and the same rules apply to the music is what I'm saying.
You're right.
Not the same thing. Don't tell me that it is.
Physical versus digital. Ray Realms with the super chat
says... Take your ass to Atlanta, you'll feel differently.
Ray Realms says, speaking of albums, did you hear K's 2 new albums, Linguistic Arts and Woeful Studies? Please do. They're heavy. So much music out there. We got to get on that.
What's music? Like
and that's one of the reasons, you know, there's a lot of music too because it's digital. Mad Max says,
you all have ruined my life. It's like I don't listen to rap anymore unless there's music coming out because I have to listen to so much music that's coming out because so much music comes out and we have to cover it. I don't get to listen to Illmatic or Ready to Die anymore. I don't know what the Purple Tape sounds like anymore.
Oh, whatever.
That's why I played the Purple Tape the other day. That's right.
Mad Max says, you got alternative rap. You got people who like drill people. You got who like melodies and people who bounce. That's how a lot of these guys making their LPs. Speaking of which, what do you think about New York banning drill music? And because I think it's the Rolling Loud, New York, that's going to be this weekend. So NYPD, they have banned all the drill performers.
Do they have a valid legal reason to?
Mayor Adams says that drill music causes violence.
That's what I say. Because by reason, it just needs to be reasonable measure within a reasonable time continuum.
You know,
is there a reasonable measure of violence within a reasonable time continuum to say that this should be held or that these artists should be withheld? Because if so, then yes, because that's literally legally binding.
This is my thing, man. And again, kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. Now you have people who, and Mayor Adams included, because he was on that Supreme Team documentary, which I thought was really dope. You got to watch that if you haven't watched that yet.
I did watch it.
Okay, it was really dope. I think we should talk about that at some point too. But he comes from a hip hop generation, and at this point, even people like Fonnie Willis in Atlanta, you know, they come from hip hop generations. And I just think that it's so wild to see people who know what it feels like for NWA to get censored and hip hop just being so anti-establishment and going against the grain and going against the system and get censored for their expression. They live on, they get older, and they go back and do the same thing. It's very interesting to me, you know. I don't see how this is any different than any other era getting censored as well. Um, I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. I don't think that I think it's dangerous when you can sit there and ban a whole subgenre. Then what stopped you from just banning a genre, period? It sets a bad precedence, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
I mean, no, I get everything you mean. I just don't even know what really like.
Let me go to the super chats while you think.
Yeah,
J Dub says, looking forward to Katie.
Mike, you're stressing me out. I'm going to take, shout out to our last month's sponsor, Relax Relief. I'm about to have me a hemp cigarette.
Oh, definitely. J Dub with the super chat says, looking forward to Katie 3, but I would love for Nas to try to do a full concept album after that. Y'all asking a lot from Nas. Give a lot, expect a lot. Mad Max says, Coop, I agree. There are so many options. It's dulling hip hop if you're a purist. So I get it. I struggle with it too. 36 Chambers says options are great, but the market is so saturated, the quality suffers. You don't have to be good anymore to put out music. Yeah, anybody.
That's the thing about. Okay, so let's unpack a couple things. First of all, the people that are saying get off my lawn are saying get off my lawn because the lawn looks good, okay? But understand, kids are going to be kids and they're going to come run on your lawn. This is something I literally had to understand when I was married once with my lawn. I had the corner lot and I had the biggest yard in the neighborhood and kids were always literally on my damn lawn. Yeah. One night I got home from work and there were literally kids hanging in my tree and running in my grass. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm about to fuck these kids up beyond recognition. And then I thought to myself, I really am turning into the old guy that is about to physically tell children to get off of my lawn. And you have to really, no, listen.
It's funny to see, man. It is.
You have to make a choice if you really want to be that person. And so a lot of these old people turning into their, who came before them, it's still a choice. It's who they want to be.
You're right.
But some of it is trauma, and I'm not joking when I say it.
I mean, I'm sitting here reading.
I was like, Mike, when you explained it, I was like, that shit sounds traumatizing.
I was reading some comments, like, on some hip-hop pages. People are like, good, I'm glad they're banning this. I'm like...
That's what I mean. It's like, what kind of hip-hop trauma have you gone to? If we're not giving you enough Mobb Deep classic albums...
Your parents were saying the same thing. I remember my parents' reaction when I was listening to Bone Thugs and Harmony. Like, they was like, saying, what is this?
These same parents,
this is gibberish.
These same parents, Mike, are these same parents that circa 1995, 96 were saying, rock you in your face, stab your brain with your nose bone?
Exactly.
Because I'm pretty sure it's the same motherfuckers that was saying that with
Exactly. No, the same people.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Is that you?
Same people that was going to Freaknik.
Therapy.
Seeing everything.
I'm not joking. You've been traumatized if you were behaving this way. You just made me smoking hemp cigarettes. Shout out to Relax Relief.
It's wild, man. And it's like, we got to let kids be kids. And obviously, I think that the safety part of it's the biggest thing. But banning a whole subgenre, you got to let us know what's going on in New York.
This is okay, so can we get to the other side of it? And let's get to the actual, like, structural, institutional side of it. And I've said this before. Well, police don't really do police work like they used to anymore, Mike, on the actual police work side as far as canvassing, getting acquainted with, and taking care of the neighborhood. If these drill rappers and their collectives, their crews, their cliques are nefarious enough that it warrants more police protection, then provide it. Because you're there to serve the community. The community is used to this show. drill rappers have been doing this show for quite some time now. Why don't you protect and serve and provide the community? And here's the problem. Well, because you're not involved in this community, because you don't really serve or protect this community, well, you can't just pull up into this community comfortably with extra police. Now, can you? There's a lack of police work that's getting done institutionally that's preventing this from happening as well.
You know what's funny though? We used to laugh about certain songs getting banned in clubs, like Tear the Club Up couldn't get played wherever, whatever. But we shouldn't have really laughed at that because this is where it leads to. You banning a song, then you ban an artist, ban a whole genre.
We're here.
Yeah. The Raisin Head with the super chat says, then rappers who rapped about shooting but didn't, now real shooters who can't rap, we want to rap too. To be real until it gets too real. Gift and a curse. Well, that's the other part about it. We want our rappers to be real until shit does get real. And then you're that's
like,
crazy.
Right. It's like we want them to be gangsters, and it's like, well, why aren't you serving the community? Like, I tell you what, it's just like Benny the Butcher was just at a high school in like Rochester, I think. And I was like, great, good job. And then I'm thinking like, hold on. All y'all just got done reporting all this shit that's going on with him and Gibbs. I didn't see one of the same people and the same media outlets and factions that were reporting what was going on between him and Gibbs. When he pulled up to this high school to show love, I didn't see one of those media outlets spin the block and promote that shit.
Right. I mean, I don't know.
But I seen it.
I don't know. Mad Max says,
very problematic.
Mad Max says, people still gonna listen to drill. The beats are too enchanting, and you can't tell an NY person nothing. I don't care what generation they're from. We not hearing you. But see, that's the thing though, Mad Max. When you ban something with the youth, it gets stronger. Because the youth is out here trying to rebel anyway. When they were out there smashing Snoop Dogg's tapes in the streets, that made you want to listen to the shit more. Interscope found that out early. I feel like, and this is me being a conspiracy theorist, right? I feel like Interscope caught on to that and was like, yeah, we're going to just stage these record smashings because the kids are going to want it more. And they did.
Hold on. And can I say something like you want to know it? And here's the truth of the matter, too. We're just very hypocritical in our community when it comes to the rearing of the younger generation. Like,
do as I say, not as I do.
No, right. Well, I've heard this from a lot of people. Like, some people are more old school than I am about parenting. And I've parented my daughter a certain type of way. And people are like, well, why do you... I'm like, motherfucker, do you know what I was doing at 15? It's like, hold on, motherfucker, do you remember what you were doing at 15?
People forget very quickly.
You think I'm about to... No. Oh, I knew what I was doing at 15, 16. This kid's all right with me. Get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? And so people be conveniently forgetting like who they were. And also too, it's like, well, where do you think this behavior came from? Once again, where do you think this behavior came from?
Well, you know what? Somebody said in the chat, blaming music is super trash behavior. And that is correct. Especially when, again, you talk about so many things that were systemic. And you said this earlier when we were talking about another topic. They know why these things are happening. But it's easy to sit there and blame the music. Ice Cube said this back in like 1990. He was like, but you want to sit here and blame me. I'm easy to blame.
Right. Listen, I'm not joking. That's what I mean. It's like, if these people been traumatized, go get some goddamn therapy.
Yeah, man.
Go get some help. Go get some help about the issues that you have inside.
But what's so wild to me, though, Coop, the people who are making these decisions to ban these things come from that generation where Ice Cube was saying these things.
That's why they need to get
you
therapy,
know these
Mike.
things.
It's our generation.
This is the generation
older than us.
This is the generation that grew up listening to Public Enemy. You know what time it is. No pun intended. And you're out here making these decisions? Mike, New York, man, you got to come tell us something, man.
Mike, these people saying, fuck the police, fight the power, and Shook Ones Part 2.
Those are the people that are in office making these decisions to ban drill music. And I don't even want to just pick on them. Those are the people in those chats that are co-signing this. Like, yeah, good. I'm glad they banned it. Really? Okay. The Raisin Head says, take away the violence and erase 70% of your playlist. I would love to see what's on some of these politicians' playlists when it comes to hip hop.
Probably.
What are you listening to in the gym? I want to know.
The Chronic.
The
I'm telling you. You think I'm joking? Old white people love The Chronic.
Well, I was talking about the black politicians, but yeah, them too, I'm sure.
What black politicians?
Well, there you go. Let me get to this next topic real quick, because I posted this earlier, and I don't know how true this statement is, but it was reported by Hip Hop Dynasty. They allegedly said that the game said to Eminem, F everything you did. I don't care if you're richer. I don't care if you have more plaques. I don't care who thinks you're great. Nigga, I'm better. Let's rap. You did it with MGK. Why not do it with me? Now, if Game really said this, I'm not sure. I have to do more research on that. But I thought what was interesting were people's responses to this. These are the responses. I'm just going to go over them briefly because it's like thousands of comments, but, they're all pretty much saying similar things. They say he wants attention, and silence is the most effective thing when it comes to some senseless BS. We're talking about hip-hop here. We're talking about the ultimate battle rapper here. Okay, here's another comment. Man, at this point in M's career, it serves no purpose. If I was him, I'd buy Game's catalog of albums. Here's another one. It says, this is a sales tactic for his albums, and he knows if M gives him a response, it will boost his sales. M is doing the best possible action by not saying a word.
So can I say something?
Go ahead.
We don't need to go any further. You see what's going on with Boston Celtics head coach Ime Udoka, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to tell you like I've been telling everybody since that news broke. White man been doing that shit for years in that sphere of sports, and nobody says a word about those types of less than stellar behavior from a figurehead and a leader. Now, when Eminem has been in battle with people who haven't necessarily been authenticated by the hip-hop community, not the black community, but the hip-hop community, like a Mariah or a Nick Cannon, or even to a lesser degree MGK, even though MGK gets a lot of love and rightfully so. It's never an issue of him attacking those people. But here we have somebody from maybe the most notorious hood in America who just so happens to come out of a comparable camp. The same person that put you on, put him on. So you know the area, you know the struggle, you know the credibility. The credibility is strong, as in the street credibility, the record sales credibility, the hit-making credibility, the rhyming credibility. The game checks all of the boxes.
He sold a lot of records, too.
No, I said the sales credibility.
Yeah.
The second thing that I brought up.
Yeah.
I brought up the street cred, then the sales cred, and then the rhyming cred.
I just wanted to reiterate that. Yeah.
No. We need to
because that's the first thing people bring up. Yeah.
Right. And so I fundamentally in this sport told you this is built out of inner city angst and competition. And part of why I make the tennis comparison so much is very much a one-on-one sport at times, or the boxing analogies. We do a lot of boxing and tennis analogies because it's very much one-on-one. Okay? When a guy like this checks the boxes that the game does, let's take this to boxing. Promoters and other boxers would say that you were scared to fight. Be like, well, why don't you want to fight him if you are who you say you are? It's like, well,
facts.
He's in your weight class. He's got a resume that says he should fight you, that he's capable of fighting you.
He wants to fight you.
He wants to fight you. And what you become in boxing, at least when you do this, is you become the guy that's ducking the fight. And in boxing, that matters. And I've always told you, it's like, oh, I don't even take that Floyd and Pacquiao fight that seriously, because to be honest with you, they both hurt their legacies with me for it not happening. I don't care the who, what, where, when, or how. You should have fought 5 years sooner. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't care whose fault it is. How about this? You both taking the L in my book, and I don't hold you as high. Because one way or another, that fight got ducked for about 5 or 6 years. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
And much like in that sphere, how it feels like, and I still feel that way about Floyd and Pacquiao, it hurt both of their credibility. No, this is a knock to your credibility. So I don't want to hear that greatest MC of all time talk.
I don't even want him to be credentialized.
You gotta come outside and attend to these matters.
I don't even want to hear him credentialized as a battle rapper. Because you know what? I thought about something today, and I thought about Infrared. And when Pusha T went out there and made Infrared, Drake didn't have to respond, really. Drake could have played this game too, because Drake is selling more records than everybody. Drake could have just sat there and did nothing. But you know what Drake did? He actually went out there and stepped in the ring and allowed us the opportunity to get a story out of Don.
What did I tell you, Mike? I've never been a big Drake fan, and not about me being a big Pusha T fan, just never been a big Drake fan. But Mike, when he made Back to Back, I was like, he gets it, he cares. But most importantly, because this is hip hop and this is about your credibility, he's not scared.
He's up for the challenge. And we can say the same thing even with Pusha T. Even with Pusha T. And we know Pusha T and his credit, his pedigree and the level he is as an MC. Because really, Drake stepping in that really didn't do anything for Drake. But I will give Drake that credit. He could have sat there and ignored this like Eminem's doing, and his fans would be doing the same thing that Eminem's fans are doing.
No, you know I told you, Drake earned my respect with the Meek thing because I understood right there. It's like, well, not only is he not scared, but he gets it. He gets, for all the hit making, all the hook singing, all the helping everybody else singing all this. Yeah. No, he gets the fundamental basis that this culture is built off of. He's stepping to the table if you challenge him because he understands that's how this shit goes. And I told you, and I respect Drake forever for that. If you step to him, he gonna say some shit back. That's what's up.
After seeing how this is playing out and how scared Eminem clearly is, I respect Drake even more for doing Duppy freestyle, and we ended up getting the story of Adidon after that. Because all he had to do was just ignore Pusha T.
No, he's competitive.
Yeah.
He's competitive the way an MC's supposed to be, Mike. Well, that's what I'm saying. That comes with it. That's part of it.
M claims to be competitive, but I guess that's only when Nick Cannon jumps in front of the mic.
No, that's what I'm trying to say is that, like, we got to start. I told you this behind the scenes. I believe I texted this to you. We wouldn't be talking about any of this if the proper and appropriate narrative about his ranking as an MC would have taken place to begin with. He's somebody that sits number one all time in record sales, but really he's a 30 to 50 MC, Mike.
No, you're right.
And that's just it at the end of the day. And if we can stop looking at him in the improper light of him being a top 5 or 10 MC, which he is not. He's never been a top 5 or 10 MC to me. Like never. Even at his peak, I never thought that he was a top 10 MC of all time. That's not saying that disrespectfully.
No, it's just the truth. It's just honest.
It's just the truth. And so when the guy who's probably skill, talent, album catalog wise deserves to be like number 37 all time on a list, but he gets talked about with Jay and Nas and Big and Pac his whole career. Well, that's not fair to him. That's not fair to us. That's not fair to hip hop. And it just would have been better if he would have been appropriately and properly rated the first time around.
Well, and
here's the reality of the matter. Let me just finish this up. If you rate him appropriately and properly, like I'm saying, is what you'll find is that all time he's really right in game sphere, which is why I'm saying this needs to happen. If you look at it objectively, it's like, nah, both of y'all is about 30 to 50 MCs all time right now.
Well, I think the other problematic part of this is when we look at Drake, we don't even think about a battle rapper. But when we talk about M, somehow the battle rap thing has become a part of his legacy. And, you know, of course, we've heard it over and over. Oh, nobody wanted with M. Oh, if you come with M, he's going to ruin your career. Or if somebody does come with a diss record, oh, that's it for them. He's going to murder them. And it's like, okay, well, that's just not the case. This is false. Somebody who actually does have a battle resume in game, and it's well documented, he comes forth with the record that we know if Nick Cannon would have made it, there would have been a response promptly. He comes with the record, radio silence. And not only is it radio silence, you got his fans out there like, oh, well, that's not worthy of a response. No, that wasn't the narrative. So, I mean, I think, like you said, the proper placement is one thing, but we also have to put in perspective that the battle thing, that's just a movie. That's not real life. B Rabbit is not a real MC. Like, Eminem is Eminem, but B Rabbit is a character in the movie. 8 Mile is not a real life thing. It's a movie, guys.
People need to understand this. A cipher in your hood or in the local town on stage is different than battle industry rap battle.
On wax, yes.
Like, that's different. And so what I think is going on, this is what I mean about proper placement, is it's like, oh, y'all are talking about that guy that likes to cipher.
Yeah.
We're talking about a battle. Like, you're talking about the cipher. We're talking about the battle. You know what I'm talking about, Mike? You know what the cipher is like. It's like, no, let's crank that up and we all going to take turns. That's the M y'all are talking about. You talking about the guy that's cracking in the cipher where the mic is getting passed around. And it's like, oh, shit, that's what I mean. No, in that format, Mike, he excels and he shines because you can put him next to somebody like a Yasin and a Black Thought, and he can stand right there in that format.
Right.
Now, Mike, clear out the room and put him in opposition to one of those guys.
It's a whole different thing.
That's different.
It is.
Ciphering with somebody and battling somebody is two different things. You understand that?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm talking to the people when I'm saying that. And so what people are looking at, and this is what I mean about him properly rated. And we're about to talk about one of those guys. Well, Planet Asia is one of those guys that can cipher his ass off, and he's never been looked at the way that M's been looked at.
This is true.
Right.
I was going to say I wonder why, but no, I'm not even going to go there. He's a dope MC.
And we got evidence of that because he and this, what's his name? Nug. Let me pull it up again because this shit was slapping.
Yeah, it was. I was digging it.
I told you, Mike, Nug Life, Planet Asia and Nug Life. This is what I mean. And so, like, Planet Asia is one of the best cipher MCs that I've heard the last 20 years. That's more who M is. Like, he's more in, like, Planet Asia's realm and Game's realm than he's even realizing. It's like, no, like the powers that be that don't really run this culture but run the music side of it, they placed you up there. It's like you were never up there. And it just needs to be honest conversation. And there's nothing wrong, Mike, with being like the 37th best MC of all time. It's like thousands of MCs.
Yeah. Now, that's an accomplishment in itself. And even, again, all jokes aside, the records that M has sold, it's amazing. I mean, it's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
He's so accomplished in his career, but we got to put things in perspective, and it is what it is. I think that what Game has done, I think Game has stepped out of the realm of what people in the industry are supposed to do, and this reaction or non-reaction, I mean, it's exposing what really is what it is. Because, again, we've seen Nick Cannon jump out there with a record. We've seen Benzino jump out there with a record. We've seen Everlast jump out with a record, and all these are in different eras. Eminem responded promptly, even as recent as MGK. And for the people out there who are out here talking about Rap Devil is better than the Black Slim Shady, it's not. I mean, we've constructed that record and broken it down and all that, but the same people were out here trying to downplay even that MGK record when it came out. Stop playing games and stop moving the goalposts. This guy is not what you're saying he is on that level. Now, he's a great pop rap star. It is what it is. That's what he is.
This is even what I mean. Okay, so.
But battle rapper, no.
No, listen to what I'm about to say. Let's make it more relatable for people just on a fundamental MC level. And let's not include his whiteness in any of it.
I never do.
No, I know you don't, but I know even when people are talking, they assume that we're including his whiteness in the things that we're saying. His comps for me, if we're talking great all-time MCs, well, it's not Jay-Z and Nas and Big and Pop. It would be Redman and Busta Rhymes. Now, you think Redman and Busta Rhymes are top 20 MCs all time?
I think Redman is.
Busta?
Maybe. I think he could be, and I think he's just missing the classic albums that Redman has, in my opinion.
I would agree with you on that sentiment. And so if I were to place Redman, I told you Redman probably falls somewhere between 11 to 15. And Busta Rhymes would probably be somewhere between like 19 to 25. Now, do you think Eminem's catalog, Mike, just the catalog alone, is comparable to their catalogs?
I don't.
Now, skill-wise, do you think that he's comparable?
When you say skill-wise, yeah, you know what? I'll say yes, because I will give him this over the other two. I think that he's a better storyteller. I think that, when it comes to in-depth songwriting, stuff like Bonnie and Clyde 97 and things of that nature, he has that over them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he belongs right there. But here's what I'm trying to tell you. Well, you just said catalog-wise, he doesn't belong. MC-wise, he belongs. Well, Mike, let's go to the thing. Where are songs at? Because remember when I was doing Busta's rundown of Busta's songs the other day?
Yeah.
Like, where is that at even? You get what I'm saying?
He makes, listen, I and this is where the discrepancy is, and I think Game kind of addressed this in his record. He basically makes rap records for a non-rap audience. It is what it is. There's no fun. There's no other way to say it. It's just the truth. He makes rap records for a non-hip hop audience.
So let's just generalize it and kind of close it like this. Well, Busta and Redman are both. How about this? No matter how you feel, they're top 25-ish rappers. Let's just say that Redman and Busta are top 25-ish rappers. Well, he doesn't necessarily compare to them fairly. And so even placing him at like somewhere like 35 to 40 is pretty nice, because I don't even know if he compares to Busta and Red. And Busta and Red would be on the back end of most people's top 25 at this point, Mike.
And that's not even factoring in the 20-year drought. We're talking about in a vacuum at his.
Yeah, we're talking in a vacuum.
So yeah, we're not even talking about the fact
the highest of your eyes. It's like put Busta's 4 best album, Redman's 4 best album, Eminem's 4 best albums. It's like the only thing that you're gonna find comparable is the skills, the albums, and the songs, buddy. And those guys are top 25-ish, like back in top 25-ish. And so when he gets placed in that Nas, J, Big Pop category up in the top 5, when he's not even registering with the top 25-ish necessarily, that's the schism. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's what needs to change. That's the narrative that specifically needs to change. Because if that narrative change and we rate him properly and people stop inflating it, well, we don't need to do all this stuff.
You're right. But I think what Game did, and I think we were starting to really understand that when it comes to the music, but I think what Game has dispelled is this super battle rap mystique.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is what I mean about, well, they got signed by the same person. You know, Game probably seen some things from the inside for years.
Yeah.
That, you know, over the course of time, we probably weren't even paying attention to or
Snoop
caring
said
about.
Something, remember? And they came down on Snoop heavy for it. All Snoop said was, Snoop said, look, I can live without it. And so, like
but that's different than challenging somebody to a battle, though.
I agree, but I think that the problem with the whole thing with what Snoop said is they came down on Snoop like he was coming at dude. He didn't say anything like that. I just said that I'm not a huge, you know what I'm saying? He's not in my top whatever.
Okay, well,
and they tried to turn it into a beef. It wasn't even that.
I'm not going to bring up what that is, Mike, but we all know what that is, and that don't have anything to do with rap. That don't have anything to do with music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the Versus thing has been settled with Trilla, Swiss Beats, and Timbaland?
I was about to ask you. I was about to say, we going to Planet Asia or going to Trilla, but we can go to Trilla.
I want to go to Trilla, man.
I'm cool with that.
So, sounds like they settled their differences, per se. I want to go to this article real quick. What were your first thoughts when you saw it? Because you told me about it earlier, and you were like, we got to talk about this.
I just laughed, Mike. I let out a nice, healthy heart.
I want to pull up the quote, though. This is the quote from Swiss. He said...
Oh, buddy.
Let's see. Oh, here it is. This is what I was looking for. It said, Versus has always been a platform that is by the artist and for the artist and with the people, Swiss Beats and Timbaland said in a statement. Timbaland as well, I'm sorry. We're glad to come to an amicable agreement with Trilla and continue giving the fans the music and community that they've come to know and love from the brand. Versus and Triller will be always be a safe place and an outlet for creators of the arts. Nothing will change that. But that's what a Triller executive said. So it's a platform by the artists and for the artists and with the people. What do you think?
So, Mike.
Oh, let me say, it's an undisclosed amount too. We don't know what.
There we go. Okay, so the first, so hold on.
So we don't know what those. Yeah, no, they were suing them for $28 million.
No, you want to know what? No, let's just get right to it. You forged what I felt like was the most poignant question behind the scenes, which was, so how many artists is getting paid back what off this lawsuit, since Timbaland and Swiss have the right to sue for what exactly? Because I told you, it's like, is this a creative licensing like lawsuit about like your creative rights? Like, did they put a copyright on the intellectual property of the verses? Is verses their intellectual property and thereby they deserve some sort of residual? Does that residual involve paying the artist? Most notably, Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers.
I feel like
Swiss and Timberland. What'd you say?
I feel like the artists were already paid. None of the artists are complaining about this.
That's probably due to the stream upticks too. You feel like contractually they were given something too?
Oh yeah, because I
feel like they had to dance with the devil under the pale moonlight, Mike.
Let's be real here. Let's be real here. If these guys were trying to sue Triller for $28 million, and those artists, even if they got an uptick in fucking streams, which they probably don't get a lot of money from anyway, you think they wouldn't have been like, yo, $28 million? Nigga, I did these verses. Where's my cut? They've already been paid.
Out of that cut, probably.
Out of what cut? T Nitty with the super chat says, M seen what Game did to G Unit. That's true. That is true. Esquire with the super chat says, I agree with M being overrated, but I don't think that he's afraid of Game at all. Compare what M would gain from winning little to what Game would top 20. I mean, I
don't think Game gains anything.
I don't either. And I don't think
he's gonna go do $5 million.
Let me answer Esquire's question real quick. I didn't mean to interrupt you. What Eminem would gain from this is to actually beat somebody that could rap. Because we look at his rap resume when it comes to these battles, and like I said, it looks like Everlast. It looks like Cannabis that came home from Iraq that didn't have a record deal. It looks like Fred Durst. It looks like Mariah Carey. It looks like MGK to some, and I think MGK got him, right? It looks like Nick Cannon. So yes, what M would get from this is to have an actual credible body on his resume.
See, and you're right. So this is why resume matters. So let's go to
LL.
Let's go back. No, let's go to boxing again, and let's go back to Floyd. And you were like, a lot of people, I was getting a lot of flack for why I didn't hold Floyd as high. And I'm like, well, who did Floyd fight?
Exactly.
And you're like, well, he fought everybody. And I'm like, no, not really, because here's what I'm saying. And listen to what I'm about to say. Well, people don't talk about Michael Jordan competed with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, even though they played in the NBA together 5 whole seasons. Just like people don't talk about Michael Jordan competed against Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway and Grant Hill, even though Shaq and Penny beat him in the playoffs. They actually played in the league with him like 7 or 8 years, Mike. His contemporaries were considered to be Isaiah, Magic, Bird, because when he was at his peak, they were at their peak. And when I'm saying, so Floyd's list has the fighters on it, go check the date and the time on those fighters. Like, oh, well, you got Canelo when Canelo was young Shaq. You got Pacquiao when Pacquiao's Kareem. It's different than Sugar Ray Leonard's resume where it's like, damn, this motherfucker fought every motherfucker in his prime.
Exactly.
Who you want, Camacho, Hagler, Hearns? What you want? Fought everybody. He fought Floyd's dad, if memory serves.
Battle anybody. I don't care
his ass too, if memory serves.
Listen, man, and Esquire, man, I know you
it matters.
Esquire
so when people are like, Floyd's the greatest of all time, and I'm like, man, Sugar Ray would whoop Floyd's ass, and people looking at me like I'm crazy. It's like, no, nigga, you crazy. Sugar Ray would whoop Floyd's ass because he's almost as good as defensive fighter. And as far as offensive hands and firepower and punch go, drag. 7-round fight, Mike.
Esquire is
knocking that ass out.
Esquire is a hip hop aficionado, so I know he knows that the quote is "battle anybody, I don't care who you tell." And I know that remember Sauce Money did that interview where he was talking about him, Jay, and I want to say it might have been Jazz, might have been somebody else. This is when LL was huge and they were unknown, and they battled. LL got out of the limousine and battled these unknown MCs in that moment. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that.
Because LL Cool J is hard as hell.
Battle anybody. Esquire with the super chat says Game would gain the notoriety in the anno of hip hop from being associated with the technical monster of on the mic. M has had weak opponents, true, but winning wouldn't raise his standing on all-time combos. I think it would. I think you're underestimating how weak his roster is.
Hold on. How about this? Let me give you another boxing analogy. Who got Lennox Lewis ahead of Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson all time, even though he beat them both?
I do, but I feel you.
You got Lennox Lewis above Mike Tyson?
Lennox Lewis beat everybody.
When did he beat Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, Mike? If he would have fought them 5 years earlier, he wouldn't have lasted 3 rounds with either one.
Possibly. But again, like you said, it matters.
I saw Mike Tyson box in his prime. I saw Evander Holyfield fight in his prime. I saw Lennox Lewis fight in his prime. Like, prime Holyfield would have broke him down worse than he broke down Mike.
Mad Max says, Coop, stop. Floyd beat Pacquiao, and he was older than him. Ain't Sugar Ray make Hagler wait because he was shook then. Said, no rematch. Yeah, old heads revising history.
No what? No rematch hasn't fought him already? Say less. Say less. Say less. Say less, young man.
All right, let's get back to this versus thing because we'll get back on that and be on that forever. This is what I will say, man. I guess, how do I say this? I want to choose my words carefully. This is what I think happened because the first thing I thought when I read this, I was like, okay, you settled with them. What happened to Sony's lawsuit? Those are the people who actually own the publishing for the music. So you could keep the lawsuit out there with Sony, but Versus continues on? How does that work?
I don't understand what's going on.
So Sony already put the lawsuit out there. Basically, Triller was using their music for Versus. And so I don't think that the settlement in order, if we're doing things in order, right? Order of importance. I don't think that the settlement would start with Swiss and Tim. I think it would start with Sony because the music is the music.
So can I submit to you what I think happened, maybe?
What do you think?
So Sony said, shut the fuck up. How about that? Sony said, shut the fuck up. That's what I think happened. I think Sony showed up and was like, hey, we're going to get all this settled. Don't appreciate you behaving this way. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a nice little settlement for everybody to get paid. You guys are going to continue to do this because you belong to us.
Get back to work.
Hold on. You belong to us and not the other way around. You can go ahead and make it seem like whatever you do for your little hip-hop heads and your friends and your homies and your culture. Now get your ass back to work.
Yeah.
Nigga.
Yeah, I think Sony got their money and like you said, I think Swiss and Tim got put back to work. Because again, for a quote-unquote settlement, I don't, and I still struggle with understanding what exactly they own. They own a Instagram page? Because they don't own the music. Sony's already made it clear that they're the ones that handle that.
They will make Swiss go get them a caramel macchiato. You understand? Be like, run to the store for me right quick. Get back to work.
Yeah, I guess that undisclosed amount is basically get back to work.
Better watch your tone next time you want to go suing everybody when it's our money anyway. Definitely, if you want to be part of this organization, you're definitely going to watch your tone and get your ass back to work.
Well, I just thought it was I think it's an interesting situation altogether. I'm looking forward to seeing who they're going to put on the stage next because It seems like the last couple of ones have kind of, I think it's kind of over anyway, but it sounds like they're reinvigorated. Maybe Puffy and JD will do it on Versus, because I know Puffy and JD were talking about doing a Versus, but not on Trilla. And, this has gotten cleared up, so maybe that's the next one.
I just know they need to get their ass back to work because their bosses apparently are throwing up gang signs in front of everybody. Like, nigga, get back to work. That was cute.
They want their corners back.
Right.
Mitsu's son says, I can't relate to M. My mom and wife, they say, I love my mom, wife, and I don't do pills.
Well,
well,
relatability struggles, possibly.
Relatability is there. Hey, listen, man. I think it was a great thing while it lasted. I think that people really ain't excited about it anymore. We back outside. You know what I'm saying? And somebody said maybe Justin Timberlake. Hey, maybe Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber can do it.
Hold on, Mike. I want to pause for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Country Roads. That's Mo. That's Maurice. Mo from back in the day at Dave and Buster's.
Yo, what up, Mo?
Yeah, that's Mo hollering at us. I post our podcast up sometimes up on their channel, but they're growing out their stuff too. They're really doing a really good job. What's up, Mo? All of y'all out there, follow Country Roads Experience. That's
Definitely.
fam. Mo goes back with Mike and us over 20 years too. Mike and his crew is from Mo and his crew is from Columbus. They was getting some airplay back in the day too.
Yo, they was dope, man. Shout out to Mo, man.
Yeah, remember Mo and De Niro? They was nice. Remember Natural High?
Yeah. Shout out to De Niro.
They were getting airplay for Natural High.
They made some dope records, man. We were talking about doing some collaborations and all that back then too.
Same thing over here. I done freestyle with Mo and De Niro plenty of times.
Yeah.
Plenty of times, yeah.
But yeah, I don't really know where Versus goes from here. But to me, I think that my initial thoughts about the whole matter was that the labels were running this whole Versus thing in the first place. I think that's still the reality, because in any of these documents or any of these articles, I didn't see Sony's name come up. And let's just be real, nothing moves without the publishing. Because I never really understood what Swiss and Tim actually owned in this situation.
Right. You were the first one to ask this question. It's funny that we're having this show. Like, we're covering so many topics today that we covered when we used to go on Facebook Live and Instagram Live before we jumped on YouTube. This was some of the early topic stuff where I was like, well, Mike, I don't know. I was like, we just know that they don't own this shit.
Well, I understand how, and I think anybody who is on the internet, we're all on the internet, right? We know how synchronization licensing works. You can't go out there and just start playing songs on your platform. Your shit'll get muted.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. You can't do that.
Do you remember when people told us that we were hating because we kept questioning how the music was getting played? And you were like, how are they playing the music? I was like, I don't know. They're part of the mob, though. And by the mob, I mean like Sony, BMG, Interscope, Air. Oh.
Yeah, because if we got on here right now, and this happened to us when we tried to do our first Patreon, because I was thinking that we could run it through whatever. I don't want to get too nerdy on it, but anyway, somehow it ended up being on YouTube. Flags everywhere from everything that we did. You know what I'm saying? And it happens instantly. It don't take a long time. You can't go out there just playing records all willy-nilly on an Instagram page. You
got like 30 seconds, Mike. You got 30 seconds. They're like, there'll be none of that.
The only people that could do that are the people who own the shit. And it is what it is. And that's what publishing ownership is about. And I never understood how they were able to do this. And the artists themselves weren't able to do this with their own music. So, Mike, yeah, the majors were behind it the whole time.
Our holiday party, Mike.
Wizard of Oz type stuff.
Our holiday party, Mike, for According to Hip Hop. I posted it. Benzo Abima was playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
They took it down, and I had to repost and hashtag, I do not hold the rights to this music to get it to play. I did.
Yeah. You can't even go to and I know for the people who might still be on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you can't even go to the club or party and, get some video footage and post it, because your joint's going to get flagged from the publishers. And that's just like background music. That's not even you playing the music. Born King with the super chat says, can A2HH please do an album review for Medallions and Monarchy by Planet Asia?
But we're actually about to review Planet Asia's last album that just came out the other week. So,
yeah. But yeah, man. So I'll be interested to see where things go with this. But I'm looking forward to Monday. You and I doing this Timberland and Neptune's matchup. I'm gonna call it matchup because I don't want to get sued. Anyway, I got I got smoke for you.
Look, but we the haters, right? Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, I got some smoke for you on Monday, man. And
no,
for the people down here,
aside,
click the link at the top, and join in on that joint because it's gonna be brutal. You can back out of it now. We could switch and do the Havoc and Just Blaze Monday if you want to.
No, Mike, I'm looking forward to getting on a winning streak. I will tell you this. I don't expect to blow you out. I'm going to show the Neptune some respect, but I am going to beat you pretty steadily, Mike. I'm going to beat you pretty steadily. I'm going to predict that I'm probably going to win about 13-7.
13-7. The tribe
12 to 8 or 13-7. I'm gonna beat you.
The tribe was 12-8. From what I was listening to the other night when I'm putting together my playlist, I think I'm gonna win around 13-7. You got one in a million. I'm gonna give you one in a million, maybe. And I'm still looking for some matchups for that, trying to figure out where we'll play around with that. But I got a strategy. I had a strategy last time. But this strategy is killing my strategy from this previous week.
I mean, Mike, I don't even like. I mean,
Jordan House said, Mike, you got to represent. Jordan, I'm gonna represent, man. Shout out to Jordan House.
Mike, I'm gonna tell you what, man. To quote Big Daddy Kane, Timberland's beats. It's like Joe Frazier's right hook. Right hook is like Joe Frazier's. I'm the bodacious. That's what Timberland's beats are like.
All right, well, you're going to have to come with it, man, because like I said.
I'm going to win this, Mike. I'm sorry. Because I'm going to tell you where I got you. I don't think you realize the type of nostalgia that some of Timberland shit inspires across the board in different spaces at different times. He's got more moments than the Neptunes do. See, you're thinking that the Neptunes have more moments. They don't. That's what I'm about to show you. I'm about to show you how Tim's moments are really like some moments.
I hope you don't try to be
happy I don't have no Tupac credits for that No More Pain beat, Mike. I'm washing your ass. I know Timberland did that No More Pain beat.
Is he on the credits? We can't do that.
I don't know.
If he ain't on the credits, we can't do that. We can't do that on
Better hope I don't find no evidence by Monday, Mike. Let's get to this.
You gotta find some evidence. Look, if you find some evidence or whatever, it's fair game or whatever. But nah, you gotta find some sort of evidence. I will say this: you're not gonna beat me on the R&B stuff. You better find as many rap records as you can.
Mike, I'm about to run you. Mike, I'm about to run you, Mike.
Nah,
Mike,
you better find some rap records.
Oh, Mike, I don't think you remember some of Timberland's best stuff. I got some sneakers for you where it's like, how about this?
You got sneakers.
No. How about this? I got stuff that when you play it, I'm just going to take you down and you're going to be like, oh, shit, that one. I'm like, yeah, you forgot about that, didn't you?
Forward to this,
disrespectful. Man. And I got one record that I can't wait to play the record to literally beat you with. And be like, ha, 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 ha. Like, I got one record. And it's not even one of Timberland's most favorite popular records. But I know when I beat you with it, it's going to be like a personal gratification of beating you with the record. I got something for you on Monday, Mike.
I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to this more than I was the Tribe one. And I was really looking forward to that one. I really wish I could have gotten Mobb Deep instead of Cass. I didn't want to have to do Cass like that.
No, you did Cass pretty dirty, but it's okay. Hey, y'all. No. I know about the Nelly Furtado, madman. I know about the Nelly Furtado and the Madonna. You just relax. Just breathe easy.
Y'all better get him some rap records, man.
RUFFRYDE.
Listen, man, Nelly Furtado and Madonna are not going to win against me on Monday.
There's some Nelly Furtado shit. You want to know it, too? Here's what other people are forgetting about. People are forgetting about Timberland's second album. Oh, yeah.
I like that album.
That's right. You're in a lot of trouble, Mike.
Okay.
A lot of trouble,
I'm looking forward to it.
I believe there's a Dr. Dre appearance somewhere on that second.
I remember that. That ain't gonna do nothing.
Bounce?
That is not gonna do nothing, man. Oh man, I can't wait. This is gonna be real.
Better than that happy shit that the Pharrell be playing. But let's go.
I'm not going that direction. I'm not going that direction. They got so much range and so many directions you can go. I gotta focus.
I don't need to focus. I just need to bang out.
I hope he don't play LL's head sprung.
No, they're talking about the joint that's playing at the end of the head sprung video. I know what they're talking about.
Listen, man, stuff everywhere, he don't have a collaboration like "Love You Better" with LL. Yeah,
no, he doesn't. No, "Love You Better" is LL's last classic song to me.
Yeah, great record. All right, so I guess we about to get up out of here, right?
Planet Asia.
All right, we can do it. We think we got time for Planet Asia, or you want to give it to Wednesday?
No, because it's already a week behind because we already kind of delayed it. Okay. And truthfully, I don't want to delay an album of the year contender more than we've already delayed it. This was one of the best albums that I heard this year. This Nug Life producer, Mike, we need to find him and bring him on the According to Hip Hop if he wants to speak to us as soon as possible. This beat-wise collection of beats, I thought might be the best collection of beats this year. Planet Asia is concise, precise, refreshed, rejuvenated, sounds dope almost all the fucking time. He's never short on bar work. They didn't try too hard. It's not too serious, but it feels really, really good and feels right. It's just some beats, rhymes, and life. It's two dudes. And you want to know what else I like about it too? It's like marketing, branding, and promotion too. It's like you hear him like promoting and plugging his shit the whole way through, but he's doing it so naturally and so seamlessly, you know?
I love it, man. And
I do too.
You were telling me a lot about it before I even got a chance to hear it today. And then when I got, when I put it on, it just flowed. Like you said, the production is there. And the rhymes, Planet Asia is always
Planet Asia, right.
And I love this whole format where people are doing EPs. And I know we just got through talking about how albums are quote unquote needed. But if we're going to get multiple, I guess, efforts from artists in, year increments, I love the fact that people are giving us these 7-8 song EPs where they get in and get out, man.
So here's what I would submit to you, and here's what I mean about it's an album of the year contender. I see Miss Mo talking about me in the chat. I'm sick of these album of the year contenders. Well, here's what I would submit to you. First of all, when I heard this album, I thought to myself, I'm tired of not being able to hear No Fear of Time. I want to play No Fear of Time on the Patreon next to Cheat Codes in this album because I think Cheat Codes has higher highs. And I think this album may play as well or better beginning to end. It's definitely produced better than the No Fear of Time album.
I'm going to have to go back and listen for that.
It is.
Maybe
the beats, when I mean beat, how about this? Maybe not executively produced, but the beats are better, Mike. The beats on this, like Nug Life just made better beats than Mad Lib on this album for Planet Asia. And this is what I mean about how No Fear of Time can't be the album of the year is that when I heard this Planet Asia album and Nug Life album, I couldn't immediately go play Black Star's album and juxtapose it. So we need to pull it up on the Patreon and play it next to. Now, in relationship to Cheat Codes, it doesn't have the highs that Cheat Codes has. Like there's no Aquamarine or No Gold Teeth or Because or Strangers on here.
Yeah.
But I think it's more steady beginning to end. Like it doesn't have the slow start or the low end.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of that has to do with, again, the amount of songs too.
7 songs. And so that's what I mean is that and then I thought to myself, I don't know how fair this Planet Asia and Nug Life album is to the Che Noir and the Ransom album because it's succinctly shorter than both of those. They both did more work. But I would put it somewhere in between those 4 works that I mentioned, which would make it an album of the year contender because I think the only other albums that are in that spectrum are Lupe's Drill Music in Zion and Benny's Tana Talk.
Well, I was going to say, you forgot Earth Gang's Ghetto Gods.
Well, Earth Gang and JID. That's what I mean. It's a lot of really good to great stuff this year, and we need to start parsing it out a little bit more. But I think we need to start parsing it out, really, by figuring out if No Fear of Time is our album of the year. And so I think we need to have a Patreon show. Like, we have 2 hours. I think that album is about 48 minutes. We need to play the whole album and then start putting stuff next to it and finding out.
You're right. I think we're due for that. We got to do that and really, really break it down. Ryan Gillen with the Super Chat says, have y'all listened to any of Odyssey's albums? Yeah, I love Odyssey. I think that Odyssey is one of those dope MC producer combinations that we don't talk enough about. I think he's a better producer than J. Cole. I know that's the comparison, right? Some people say that J. Cole got a lot of his style from him, whatever, whatever. But I think he's a better producer than J. Cole. J. Cole's a better MC. But I think they're both very great at both basically. And I think J. Cole's he's a very good producer at producing himself. Similar to Eminem in that way, except that he's a better producer.
When you say that, Mike, that is such a loaded thing to say. You say he is very good at producing himself. I do not agree.
You don't agree with that?
Producing himself has hurt him. No.
I do think that producing himself has put him in a box where he doesn't have the range of.
It would be the biggest mark I hold against him, Mike, in his all-time greatness. Like, it's like what you don't like about Cole, the fact that he keep doing his own beats, like number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like, because it's like, well, I can't complain about the voice, I can't complain about the flow, I can't complain about the content, I can't complain about the song making ability, can't complain really about the album making ability. But if there's a complaint on the albums, I always tell you, it's like, man, these beats a little redundant, and I just want you to do some more exciting shit.
Yeah, I think Odyssey's a much better producer, in my opinion. I think Odyssey's a very good producer.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, is that it? I mean, we got a lot covered. I feel like we hit pretty much everything.
You want to know? I did want to close out a couple of thoughts about the Planet Asia album.
Okay.
I want to go back and listen to some more of his stuff because you want to know what? And this was just a brief thought.
Mm-hmm.
He felt very comfortable on this album the way Ghost felt on Supreme Clientele. Like, he was so comfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this is Supreme Clientele. That's not what I'm saying.
What you mean.
But it's like when an artist is in their zone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I found him to be in his zone on this album. We need to find this Nug Life guy, Mike.
Let's do that.
Nug Life is official.
Nug Life holler at us, we're going to holler at you anyway.
Right. And this chick, Yara, that's on Zooted.
Mm-hmm.
She sounds like Bahamadia.
I love it.
And I mean that in a glowingly complimentary way.
I love Bahamadia, by the way.
We
don't talk about her enough. Somebody mentioned her album the other day when we were talking about
Collage.
Yeah, Collage. Somebody mentioned Collage when we were talking about the female MC album discussion that we had Wednesday. And we didn't mention Collage and we didn't mention Mulatto. We should have. I mean, it's so much great stuff out there that women in hip hop are putting together. But yes, I agree with you. She's fine.
So let's maybe end the show on this thought, or we can piggyback off this for a couple minutes and then fade out of here, Mike. So we were having the conversation on Wednesday, and some of the people were like, well, it's the women that's responsible, Coop. You're wrong. It's not the men. It is the men. And let me give you an example, because when I heard this woman, I said, she sounds stupid nice like Bahamadia. I was like, but if she looks like Bahamadia, she's not going to see the light of day, and that's so unfair. And this is where men play a problem with a woman's role in hip-hop. How can we make Biggie Smalls a star and a sex symbol, but not make Bahamadia one?
Did we do that, or did the women do that?
No. What I'm saying is that the powers that be, because Big was a star, made him as presentable as possible.
But what about Missy? What about Missy when she made the rain?
A woman has to already look a certain way to get that treatment, Mike. It's not even about her skill level. She has to look that way to get that treatment, and that's not fair.
Let me ask you this. What about Missy when she came out with the rain? Missy hit the ground running immediately, and she went left. Stereotypical.
That's because she went left, Mike. She blew up herself as a trash can because she knew she was a bigger girl and it wasn't going to work. Like, she poked fun and made fun of it and made it fun and made it something different. I told you what Missy and Timbaland did is somewhere here between hip hop and R&B. Hip hop's right here, R&B's right here. Missy and Timbaland.
I feel like Missy. I mean, when I heard on the Gina Thompson record, and I seen her in the video too, and Biggie was in that video, by the way, too. And so this was around when Biggie was alive. I was like, yo, who is she? I was in love with Missy's abilities off top. You know what I'm saying? Like, she piqued my interest off top. I never once looked at it in a way, and this is just me. I can't speak for everybody else. I never looked at it like, Yeah, I can't rock with her. You know what I'm saying? She don't fit
Okay,
the mold.
but here's the thing about it, Mike. First of all, it has a talent, maybe the most diverse female talent of the modern era of music making.
Incredible talent.
As far as the diversity, we're talking about somebody that can write the song, sing the song, rap the song, scat on the song, say shit on the song that don't make no sense, and make it fly, and also is charismatic and visual and can dance. So the talent level is different than like literally all of her contemporaries at the time.
Well, to bring up Bahamadia, because I know a lot of people feel like, a lot of her steez does kind of come from Bahamadia. I've heard that from OGs before. But yeah. I feel like How We Do got a lot of play. I remember seeing that on Rap City a lot when I was a kid. I loved Bahamadia's music on Collide.
But what I'm trying to say is, no, I get what you're saying. I'm not saying she didn't get a push, but it's almost like if a woman doesn't appeal to a certain level, they only push her but so far.
Yeah.
And when it's a guy, no, like you can be big and make it to the top. And not to be funny, but it's like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't got to be the most attractive thing in the world to make it to the top of the hip hop sphere and to make yourself attractive or a sex symbol. Like women walk around and say Rick Ross is sexy like all the time. And I think to myself, it's like, if he didn't have that voice, didn't have that money, and didn't have that estate, would he still be sexy to you? If he was just if he worked at Wingstop instead of owning Wingstop, would he be that nigga to you?
Let me play devil's advocate one more time before we get out of here.
Yeah, right? I am too. I'm playing devil's advocate too. We got to have the dialogue.
Most people would say that, hip hop, the demographics for the most part, it's male driven, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people would say when it comes to R&B, especially now since hip hop is like, taking over black music a lot, women are into more of R&B than men are, right? So does that same thing work when we talk about men in R&B? Does Biggie work in R&B? Let's just say Biggie Smalls with that image. He's an R&B singer. Does that work for him?
Luther worked just fine.
We're talking about now. I mean, because I think even then, and Luther was an incredible talent. Since you want to talk about Missy being an incredible talent, Luther has a once-in-a-lifetime voice. Outside of Luther.
Facts. But, I mean, you asked for some evidence, so I gave you some.
I agree with that. But again,
Barry White.
I think Barry White had he had a Rick Ross swag. I'll give you that.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
You're going way back, though.
We just need to be okaying it on both sides. That's part of the problem. That's all I'm saying. So it's like
let me do one thing. Hold on. 2000 on. I know you said Barry White and Luther. 2000 on. Has that worked out for males in R&B? We can even say 90 on.
Everything is in all fairness and in full candor, everything is so much more glossed up and superficial and hypersexualized now than it used to be. But that's a more dangerous. That's a more dangerous composition that we're creating. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not better. That's worse, because here's what I'm saying with that. Well, you understand the way things are designed now. It's like, well, not even Luther and Biggie and Barry White can get in now. So neither can Bahamadia and Heather B and Nonchalant. That's not fair.
Esquire with the super chat says the Sony and Tim Swiss lawsuits were separate. One in Southern District, and Esquire is our hip hop attorney here. He says one in Southern District of NY Federal, and one in California State Court. Sony's is still going, and based on different claims and agreements. We'd have to wrap offline. You know what? Send us an email at info@accordingtohiphop.com. I would love to, hear a little bit more about it, because I'm sure there are some intricacies there. I do have a question as far as if that is still pending and is still going through it, how are they even going to do verses since Sony owns the catalogs?
Hold on. JC88 just said something. This is kind of my point. And Mike, and it's just me playing devil's advocate. If Che looked like Armani and dropped the album that she just dropped, would we be talking about the album more? Because I think we would.
That's fair.
Then don't say that men aren't the core of the problem, because what you're saying is that if she looked like Armani, this album of the year contender would be getting the album of the year contender consideration it deserves based on her looks. Well, that would be what I'm talking about.
It. You're not talking about us though. You're talking about in general.
Yeah, I'm talking in general. Okay. I'm not speaking to us because we've been speaking highly of Che Noir's album because we're according to hip hop, and so we base it on the skill, and the wheel, and the album, and the quality. And we look at all those things, and here's what I'm saying, and this is where I feel bad. It's like when I'm talking about these other women, it's not like these women aren't beautiful, Mike.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? And that's the problem that I have with it. I think Che Noir is actually a pretty attractive lady. She's a good-looking chick. Mm-hmm. But it's like, but she has to compete with Armani. Well, that's not fair to her album.
Well, I mean, Megan and Mulatto, and I mean, if you want to just bring it into the whole sphere,
Mike, right before we hopped on here, Mike, when we hopped up on here, like I saw Mulatto out there, she did some appearance, some recent talk show host, but she just was up on Instagram showing off photos from the appearance. She was like in this little tan thing that was like cut like from head to toe, and I was thinking, oh, she only 23, 24. I was like, oh, these chicks in trouble. She gonna be looking like this for a minute.